What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
16 MP. Chapter 406. Aibang is a Quincy. Kurosaki Ichigo was deceived, subscription required. What do you want to do? It's just that I haven't waited for Kurosaki Ichigo to finish the question, but Aibang has the action. See you. Yibang very skillfully used that extraordinary necklace to directly condense a very ferocious longbow. Kurosaki Ichigo was also surprised. You are. Kurosaki Ichigo at this time, looking at the longbow in Aibang's hand, he felt as if he had seen it somewhere. Kurosaki Ichigo also had a flash of inspiration. Isn't this exactly what Ishida Yulong would do? Of course, Kurosaki Ichigo has seen this attack method of Ishida Ryu many times, and he is naturally no stranger. At this time, Yibang smiled somewhat proudly. Do you feel familiar? Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki Ichigo was surprised again. How do you know my name? Have we seen it? The current Kurosaki Ichigo, looking at Aibang's moves and the necklace, finally confirmed Ichigo's identity. It turns out that Yibang is a Quincy. However, it made Kurosaki Ichigo a little confused. Since this Yibang is from Ishida Yulong's side, how can he attack himself? It stands to reason, this shouldn't be it. However, whether it is about Kurosaki Ichigo's questions or Kurosaki Ichigo's doubts, Aibang is completely ignored. Seeing this, Kurosaki Ichigo quickly understood that all he had now was to defeat the damn it guy in front of him. No matter what the situation will be in the future, we can only deal with this Yibang first. Kurosaki Ichigo also no longer cares about this guy. Why did he wear a mask? Is it Arankar's problem? However, Kurosaki Ichigo suddenly felt that the longbow in Aibang's hand was not only very strange, but also gave him a bad feeling. Sure enough, when Aibang launched an attack on Kurosaki Ichigo, he really knew that the attack made by this bow was an attack with a huge Reiatsu. Of course, Kurosaki Ichigo not only won't be tricked here, but can still deal with it calmly. However, Yibang laughed again at this time. Ha ha ha. Kurosaki Ichigo, it seems that I have raised you a little bit. It turns out that you don't have any abilities. You can only hide like a rabbit. But I can tell you that you can't hide. Whether you are forward, backward, left, or backward, you are already inevitable. Although Yibang was laughing endlessly, the movements of his hands did not stop in the slightest. The longbow stood in front of Aibang and kept shooting at Kurosaki Ichigo. The Reiatsu attack with a powerful and full-bodied attack continued to hit Kurosaki Ichigo. As Ebone said, whether Kurosaki Ichigo moves forward, back, hides to the left, or avoids right, Ebone's attack can arrive early and block Kurosaki Ichigo's path. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo was not only a little puzzled, but also felt something was wrong. Kurosaki Ichigo also had to force himself to calm down and think. This makes it clear that Yibang has been provoking himself from the very beginning. But why is this? Originally, Aibang thought that Kurosaki Ichigo would transfer Zanpakuto directly from the beginning to Shikai until Bankai. But when Aibang was secretly happy, Kurosaki Ichigo didn't use his black sword, let alone the Bankai he had hoped for. Yibang was forced to reveal his true identity and used unique tricks. Kurosaki Ichigo, look at you like a bear, are you really a rabbit? I can tell you, if you don't use your Bankai, not only will you not be able to beat me, you will still die. Of course Kurosaki Ichigo also knows, this is obviously Aibang's intentional provocation against him. But why is this? He also pointed out that he wanted to let Bankai. Although Kurosaki Ichigo is even more puzzled, but at this time, he is still as Aibang said, if he does not directly Bankai, his life is really hard to save. What is most important, of course, is the most important thing in one's life. Although Kurosaki Ichigo is also a little skeptical, there must be some conspiracy here. However, Kurosaki Ichigo at this time can't take care of that much. It's important to save his life first. Bankai. However, as soon as Kurosaki Ichigo started Bankai, Aibang's laughter came again. Wong Nuos, that's it, Kurosaki Ichigo. Thank you for your cooperation, this is the end of your Bankai. See you. At this time, Yibang suddenly took out a prop and blocked it in front of him. Kurosaki Ichigo also became alert immediately, and finally knew why he always felt something was wrong. Oops. Fooled. At this moment, Kurosaki Ichigo finally saw that the small prop in front of Aibang was actually a shield. At this time, a lot of light appeared on the shield, and it was very eye-catching. Although these rays of light did not have any offensive power, Kurosaki Ichigo was directly covered by this unknown light. Mad. Chapter 407. Aibang failed to capture Bankai. Kurosaki Ichigo found a shocking secret, subscription required. Advertise here. Although Kurosaki Ichigo was a little blinded by the light, he clearly felt that he was not hurt in any way. This made Kurosaki Ichigo puzzled again. What does this guy want to do? It stands to reason that this is totally inappropriate. This is a real battle. It's not playing with children, and you will lose your life at any time. But why does this guy use this kind of attack that has no attack strength and no damage? After Kurosaki Ichigo got used to the light, he finally saw what was going on. It turned out that there was a small shield attached to the necklace in Yibang's hand, and these lights were reflected from the shield. However, Yibang was still singing at this time. Dissolve it. The sea turns into clouds, clouds turn into rain, rain turns into water. Kurosaki Ichigo is not a fool, and naturally he won't be foolish waiting for Ebone to finish singing. Kurosaki Ichigo also knows that if the opportunity is not lost, the loss will not come 690, to seize the time Ibang is still singing. Crescent Moon Sky Chong. Kurosaki Ichigo went directly to Bankai and slashed directly at Ibang. To talk about Kurosaki Ichigo's attack tactics, one is simple and straightforward. Except for Bankai's Crescent Moon, I'm afraid it's just Sero after Hollow. Seeing this, Yibang was not only taken aback, but also a little unbelievable. What happened? It shouldn't be. Kurosaki Ichigo's Bankai should not be accepted by me. It's just that it's too late to say, then it's fast. Ibang was not only hit by Kurosaki Ichigo, but also shot out. Although Yibang was not dead at this time, his injuries were not light. This is completely beyond Yibang's expectation. In Yibang's understanding, shouldn't it be Kurosaki Ichigo that once he uses Bankai, he will be immediately bound by his shield? This is precisely the purpose of Ibang's approach to Kurosaki Ichigo, and the reason Ibang continues to provoke Kurosaki Ichigo to resort to Bankai. However, all of this not only did not follow Yibang's original plan, but also went beyond Yibang's understanding. Of course, Ibang does not know something, Kurosaki Ichigo is indeed bound. However, at the moment Kurosaki Ichigo was restrained and somewhat surprised, Kurosaki Ichigo broke free of this inexplicable control. Yibang seemed to be both unbelievable and very angry. Kurosaki Ichigo, you bastard, what the hell did you do? Kurosaki Ichigo's strange sense of crisis disappeared, and he also stopped. Ibang, I still want to ask, what are you doing? Yibang asked again. You bastard, I'm asking you, why didn't your Bankai disappear? Kurosaki Ichigo not only feels that Ibang is a bit inexplicable and weird in ancient times, but it is also a little hazy. You damn it guy, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Why did my Bankai disappear? This is not only the power of my Shinigami, but also the final form of my Zanpakuto. When Kurosaki Ichigo heard such outrageous words, Kurosaki Ichigo was even more confused. How can one's most CDEJ attack skills disappear in battle? Do you wait for the enemy to kill yourself? However, even though Kurosaki Ichigo did not understand at this time, Ibang seemed to be joking, but he was very sober and calm. This has to be said, Kurosaki Ichigo, who is not stupid, has indeed learned a lot from Qian Ye. Especially for the last time, in the battle between Kurosaki Ichigo and Qian Ye, I learned a lot from it. Kurosaki Ichigo was also immediately more alert, and of course he knew that Ibang clearly wanted to put himself to death. But at this time, Yibang asked such an idiot, he must not be joking, but had another mystery. This can be said to be a big secret, and it must also be related to Yibang's finding of himself this time and deliberately provoking himself to resort to Bankai. Kurosaki Ichigo also thought about it, and it is more likely to be related to the Hueco Mundo turmoil. Obviously, the enemy this time may be the Quincy. And like Ebone, there will be many more. Otherwise, Hueco Mundo will not be as bad as Grimmjow described. Besides, Kurosaki Ichigo is also well aware of Grimmjow's strength. Although Grimmjow is no longer Kurosaki Ichigo's opponent, Grimmjow's strong strength is beyond doubt. It seems that the appearance of this guy from Yibang was not accidental, but came exclusively for himself. However, the purpose of this damn it guy is to make his Bankai disappear. In other words, quintessences like Ebone have a means to make Shinigami's Bankai disappear. Of course Kurosaki Ichigo also knows that if a Shinigami is in battle, once his Bankai disappears suddenly, it means that he will not only sell, but even die. This amount of information is not only very large, but also very important, that is, it may be related to the safety of the entire Soul Society and the success or failure of future battles. Kurosaki Ichigo is not only very curious, but also has to be clear. Chapter 408. Qian Ye knows but can't say it. The Black Shadow suddenly rescues Yibang, please subscribe. Advertise here. Soul Society. The 5th Division Qian Ye's courtyard. Qian Ye has returned since seeing Kurosaki Ichigo and learned that Hueco Mundo has been in chaos. As a spoiler, Qian Ye, of course, also knows that this is not only the appearance of the Quincy, but also Yhwach is about to debut. It can be said that from the beginning of the Hueco Mundo turmoil, the 1,000-year bloody battle has already begun. Qian Ye didn't need to go to Hueco Mundo, and knew that the Hueco Mundo at this time was not only horrible, but also occupied by Yhwach. However, although Qian Ye is spoiler, he still doesn't know when Yhwach will start attacking Soul Society. Of course, this battle with Quincy will only be carried out in Hueco Mundo, Zaraki, and the Spirit Palace. As for the present world, except for Yhwach to deal with Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu, there will be basically no impact. Of course Qian Ye also knew that Kurosaki Ichigo at this time was afraid that he had already encountered a Quincy in this world. Furthermore, Qian Ye knew that the first action of the Quincy was to seize Shinigami's Bankai. This not only weakened Shinigami's battle, but also strengthened the combat effectiveness of the Quincy. It is also Yhwach's revenge against Shinigami. Yhwach is going to use Shinigami's own Bankai to deal with Shinigami. So that not only can completely defeat Shinigami, but also make Shinigami die in despair. Qian Ye also wanted to go to Hueco Mundo, immediately to brush up on the progress of his omniscience and omnipotence, and get richer rewards in the reward system during the battle with Quincy. But Qian Ye is not too anxious now, he is waiting for an appropriate opportunity. However, even if Qian Ye knew all this, Qian Ye couldn't explain it. Because Kurosaki Ichigo will not only pass the news to Saraiti, but will also personally rush to Hueco Mundo to investigate. At that time, Qian Ye would naturally want to take a trip to Hueco Mundo. Now Qian Ye wants to go to Hueco Mundo, not to mention that he has the help of Nailu. Even if he does not have Nailu, he can tear the black tone himself. Let alone what Qian Ye plans to do next. At this time Kurosaki Ichigo has found Yibang again. Of course Kurosaki Ichigo also knows that it is impossible to get a specific answer from Yibang. The only way now is to continue to attack Yibang and let Yibang himself completely expose this shocking secret. Yibang naturally noticed Kurosaki Ichigo's actions and felt helpless. However, Yibang did not show any fear, but was still very indifferent. Kurosaki Ichigo, I really underestimated you. Originally, the battle between us should be resolved within 5 minutes. I am also a little interested in you now, but there are too many things I want to ask you. Kurosaki Ichigo, I want you to come with me. Originally, Kurosaki Ichigo wanted to ask Ebone something before attacking. Of course, Kurosaki Ichigo is also holding temptation, with a fortunate mentality, wanting to tell something from Yibang. But Kurosaki Ichigo hasn't even spoken yet, but Yibang is the first to say a lot. This also makes Kurosaki Ichigo a little impatient. You are really a damn it guy. Kurosaki Ichigo's hot temper is just 1 point. Although Kurosaki Ichigo has learned a lot from Qian Ye, but the law of nature is easy to change, and Kurosaki Ichigo cannot completely change it at once. Beg for flowers. Besides, Kurosaki Ichigo is not only the result of temperament, but it is also set like this. If Kurosaki Ichigo really changes, is he still Kurosaki Ichigo? However, even when Kurosaki Ichigo hasn't finished roaring yet, Yibang has changed at this time. See you. At this time, due to the upper half of the body, Yibang has suffered extensive burns after being hit by Kurosaki Ichigo's crescent sky. Yibang's coat has been completely destroyed by the high temperature. Moreover, Yibang's blood was dripping down the wound. Point 0. Originally, Yibang's defense power was not very high. What's more, it was hit by Kurosaki Ichigo's sudden crescent soaring. Although the current Yibang is not dead, it can also be said that it has completely lost the ability to fight again. Of course, what surprised Kurosaki Ichigo was not Yibang's bloodshed, or Yibang's loss of combat effectiveness, but the dark shadow that suddenly appeared in front of Yibang. Kurosaki Ichigo, of course, had expected it a long time ago, and this Ichigo must have a helper. However, Kurosaki Ichigo at this time also immediately had a sense of danger, and quickly retreated back. However, at this time, Yibang's entire body was completely covered by black shadows. At the same time, a voice came. Don't worry, my shadow will only hide the selected person. In Kurosaki Ichigo's suspicion, under Kurosaki Ichigo's gaze, as the voice did not fall, the black shadow and Ebone disappeared into the air at the same time. Kurosaki Ichigo was even more surprised when he saw this. He hadn't figured out what was going on. Kurosaki Ichigo also clearly felt the power and simplicity of this shadow. Where? Chapter 409. Confirmation of Yibang's identity. Kurosaki Ichigo and others are going to Hueco Mundo, subscription required. Advertise here. Of course Kurosaki Ichigo also knows that this Yibang is unexpectedly weak, but the dark shadows later made Kurosaki Ichigo jealous. However, Kurosaki Ichigo also failed to understand why this Yibang's ability would be useless to him. Now that Yibang disappeared, Kurosaki Ichigo can only use Grimmjow, who is still at home. Grimmjow, you can give another description. What do you mean by Ebone? In order to fully confirm the identity of Ebone, Kurosaki Ichigo directly addressed Grimmjow as soon as he arrived in his room. 690. Of course Grimmjow is not the same. Seeing that Kurosaki Ichigo didn't have such a care for Ebone. Judging from the expression of Kurosaki Ichigo's questioning, Grimmjow also roughly guessed something. Kurosaki Ichigo, did you mean that you have met this Ichigo? However, even though Grimmjow asked so, he immediately redrew Kurosaki Ichigo's image to Kurosaki Ichigo. Sure enough, it's the damn it guy. Grimmjow was shocked when Kurosaki Ichigo said so. Kurosaki Ichigo, has that Yibang come to this world? They are just mass murderers in Hueco Mundo. Of course Kurosaki Ichigo also knows what Grimmjow wants to say and what is he worried about. Kurosaki Ichigo also said truthfully, don't worry. Let the damn it guy escape. However, his group does not seem to deal with the world, but seems to come to me on a special trip. Also, he told me when he was leaving, and provoke me. Grimmjow also asked, what else did he tell you? Kurosaki Ichigo did not conceal the slightest. Yibang told me that the current Hueco Mundo is very dangerous, do you dare to bring your friends? However, Grimmjow shook his head and said, Kurosaki Ichigo, this is their trap. You can't go. Kurosaki Ichigo said, Even if it is their trap, I must go. I want to find out what their abilities are. Grimmjow, originally, I wanted you to take us there. Since you are afraid, now your injuries are all healed, you go. I will go by myself. Grimmjow also hurriedly said. Kurosaki Ichigo, I am not afraid, but I am worried that you have fallen into their trap. It means that they can't deal with you here and want to lead to Hueco Mundo. Kurosaki Ichigo said very firmly, even so, I want to go. In my opinion, they are just some special methods, and their strength is not very good. Also, their methods are useless to me at all. Since I can be here for you and them, I can also do it in Hueco Mundo. As long as they dare to come, I won't be merciful. The reason why Kurosaki Ichigo didn't chase Hueco Mundo directly, he was waiting for someone. Of course, in Kurosaki Ichigo's original plan, Grimmjow was also to be brought. Although Kurosaki Ichigo is no stranger to Hueco Mundo, he is not familiar with Grimmjow, who was born and raised in Hueco Mundo. Kurosaki Ichigo also really hopes to get help from Grecolimjo. In Kurosaki Ichigo's plan, there are naturally Sato Yasutora, Inoue Orihime and Ishida Ryu. However, when Kurosaki Ichigo went to find Ishida Ryu, he was rejected by Ishida Ryu. And Kurosaki Ichigo hasn't found Sato Yasutora yet, but he has encountered Aibang again. Of course, Kurosaki Ichigo also asked Inoue Orihime to find it, and it is coming soon. I really mean Cao Cao. Cao Cao will be there. I saw Inoue Orihime with Sato Yasutora also coming. Of course, Inoue Orihime also knows that Kurosaki Ichigo went to Soul Society to find Qian Ye. Kurosaki Ichigo and the others do not expect Soul Society to send Captain Shinigami to go with them, but they hope Qian Ye will take them there. Inoue Orihime also asked Kurosaki Ichigo, can the Qian Ye team come? Kurosaki Ichigo shook his head. Captain Qian Ye just told me that he will go away when the time comes, but he also intends to let us go first. Inoue Orihime is also a joy, but he is relieved a lot. Although Qian Ye cannot go to Hueco Mundo with them, it is clear that Qian Ye will also go to Hueco Mundo. Inoue Orihime asked again, what about Soul Society? What is their attitude? Kurosaki Ichigo said, I don't know the specific attitude of Soul Society. It's just that, I have heard that Yamamoto Genryuzai Shigekuni captain has ordered that all of Seraites Gotei 13.4.9 are adjusted and restored as soon as possible. Of course, it is also fully prepared for war. When Kurosaki Ichigo said this, he said it in front of Grimmjow and was also looking at Grimmjow. Of course, Grimmjow also understands Kurosaki Ichigo's meaning and concerns. Kurosaki Ichigo, you can rest assured that now not only Aizen is defeated, but I am also not the original Espada. At the same time, I also looked away, and I have no interest in those powers at all. Grimmjow said directly, Kurosaki Ichigo, let's go. Let's go to Hueco Mundo to have fun. Chapter 410. Aibang was punished for failure. Hueco Mundo, out of Tyrant, subscribe. Advertise here. At the same time, Hueco Mundo. Outside a certain hall, Yibang's body above the waist was not only burned, but also very serious. However, Yibang, who had only a few tops, knelt on the ground very flatteringly, as if waiting for someone. At this moment, there was also a somewhat mocking voice. Aibang, it's really rare to let you wait like this. However, looking at what you are like now, it should be a failure. Although you have the ability to compete for merit, you lose if you lose, and that is also unforgivable. Following the voice, a man with long hair was already standing in front of Yibang. The man looked at Yibang. Not only was there a ridicule, but he seemed to be suggesting something to Yibang. Joke, do you think I would bow to someone like you? Listening to the full-blown dialogue between these two people, it is not difficult to know that the two are not in harmony at all. 23 is also very obvious, even if Yibang, who is a little embarrassed at this time, still has no intention of giving in to that man. Not only did the man look down on Yibang, but Yibang also looked down on the man. This can also be described as the tip of the needle. Aibang, what are you talking about? Don't you know who are you talking to? However, just as the rivalry between the two was about to escalate, another voice came. Enough, that's it. This person's voice continuously interrupted the fight between the two, and it was obviously with incomparable majesty. I really don't have a long memory. How many times do you have to tell me before you understand, and you are not allowed to fight in front of me? Before this person's voice fell, Yibang's body had increased wounds. See you. In front of the two, there is a throne. On the throne, there was a middle-aged man sitting. At this time, the middle-aged man was looking at both Yibang. Your fight is not interested in me, and I don't have a hobby of listening to people fighting. What I want to listen to is your report on peace. Only in a moment, Yibang's right arm was cut off invisibly. However, although Yibang was suffering tremendously, he did not even dare to scream. Moreover, this kind of pain is even if Yibang wants to faint, he can only carry it hard. However, at this time, the middle-aged man on the throne spoke again. You don't have to be aggressive anymore. With your current injury, I'm afraid you can't even sit down. I allow you to lie down and talk. The middle-aged man on the throne is not only full of majesty, but more like a high emperor. It's like a director is making a film. However, this is not the shooting scene of a certain film, but a real existence. Yes, the middle-aged man on the throne is also the king of Yhwach. Obviously, Yhwach was punished for losing a right arm because Yhwach had a fight with the people beside him just now. This can also be seen completely, although Yhwach is very painful, but there is no half of anger and disrespect. To say that what Yhwach has now is only his pain and regret for his incompetence. After hearing the words of their king, Yhwach even mentioned the instruction to go to the battlefield. Yes, yes. However, just after Yhwach's response was heard, the king's voice came again. If you can't even sit, there is no need to leave that foot. These words made Yhwach feel as if struck by lightning, and his heart trembled, struggling desperately to sit on the ground. At this time, the voice of the king of Yhwach came again. As a villain, how can you be so rude? Then now, it's time to listen to your report. However, at this moment, Yhwach suddenly realized that something seemed wrong, and quickly looked at Ludas beside him. Yes, the man who stood in front of Yhwach and fought with him just now was Ludas. It was the long-haired man with 7 nails on his face, but now he stood motionless beside Yhwach. However, this is not the point. What is important is that Yhwach found a puddle of blood on the ground. Yhwach looked in the direction, but he saw half a corpse on the ground for some time. 690. And this corpse belonged to Rusta. Just when Ebone was punished by a broken arm, Rusta was also punished. However, Yhwach suffered a severed right arm, but Lustar was cut in the waist by a single blow, and even failed to make a scream. Lusta is still standing next to Yhwach in the second half. At this moment, Yhwach is not afraid of his king, but is truly afraid. Their king proved that he is a tyrant by his actions, which is absolutely beyond question. However, Yhwach not only could not resist, but also had to do his best to obey, and absolutely obey this tyrant. Moreover, it is still the kind that dare not have any complaints, otherwise there will be a dead end. Who wants to die? It's better to die than to live, isn't it? However, Yhwach is very clear that for this tyrant, no, it should be their king. Anyone who was killed by him with a single blow was the most generous treatment in punishment. Chapter 411. Hueco Mundo. Becomes the cornerstone of Yhwach's attack on Soul Society. Please subscribe. Advertise here. Yhwach knows that the king in front of them is not only a murderous demon, but also likes to torture people by various means. If Yhwach really wants to be caught by their king for torture, that is definitely Yhwach most unwilling. This kind of torture will not only make you worse than death, but even your soul will be unspeakably cool. It is absolutely impossible for the tortured person to end his own life. Although I have never experienced it personally, I have seen it. Therefore, this also makes Yhwach shudder. Just as Yhwach thought about this, their king's voice came again. Aibang, you should be fortunate that I didn't give you any special rewards or punishments. As a chess piece, you are enough to contain Kurosaki Ichigo. Yhwach also hurriedly said respectfully, yes. Thank you very much. At the same time, Yhwach was also greatly relieved. Of course Ebone knew that, listening to the king's meaning, although he was defeated by Kurosaki Ichigo this time, he had already completed the task the king gave him. At this time, Yhwach knew even more that their king was impatient and violent. Therefore, what Yhwach has to do now is to do everything possible to complete the next task assigned to him by the king. However, at this time, Yhwach is indeed a little embarrassed. The reasons are no different. Yhwach has already lost his right arm. It would be extremely difficult to complete the new task assigned to him by the king. So how do I do it myself? It's really hard for me to die. Become the cornerstone of peace. As the man's voice did not finish, what Yhwach did not expect in his dream was that he was already killed by his king with a single blow. The king also stood up immediately, but the throne behind him began to collapse little by little. However, behind him, a group of people in white robes suddenly appeared. Arrancar soldiers should be valuable combat power that does not require combat training. One of the people in white robes who covered his face immediately gave his advice. But this time, the man in the lead did not kill the masked and white-robed man who made the suggestion again. However, Wang suddenly turned around and walked towards the sky. At the same time, a very surprising scene appeared. The original throne has disappeared, but at the feet of the king, as the king advances, there are continuous stairs that appear step by step. With the departure of the king, the voice of the king also came. In fact, for things like Arrancar, you don't have to take it seriously, just pick it up and use it. The entire Hueco Mundo is now our territory. However, this is just the cornerstone for us to attack Soul Society. Needless to say, everyone knows that this man is Yhwach. Now the king of Hueco Mundo, the Your Majesty of Quincy. Of course, Yhwach's strong strength does not need to be questioned. Yhwach not only didn't take Arrancar of Hueco Mundo in his eyes, but also didn't take Arrancar's life seriously. Moreover, Yhwach's goal is not Hueco Mundo, but Soul Society. More appropriately, it is the Spirit Palace, and even the Three Realms. Saraiti. At this time, Qian Ye, as well as the Kurosaki Ichigo who knows that the present-day Kurosaki Ichigo, not only defeated Quincy Ibang, but also prepared to go to Hueco Mundo with his friends. However, Kurosaki Ichigo at this time does not seem to know the real purpose of the Quincy and the reason why Quincy has the ability to capture Shinigami Bankai. Kurosaki Ichigo didn't even know that he was not only Yhwach's special combat power, he was also led by Yhwach's nose. The real purpose of Yhwach is to successfully introduce Kurosaki Ichigo to Hueco Mundo, and to keep Kurosaki Ichigo in Hueco Mundo. In this way, Yhwach also took the opportunity to attack Soul Society. However, Qian Ye still didn't know what position he would be in Yhwach's heart. Isn't it also positioned as his special combat power? Of course Qian Ye also knew that as Yhwach's special combat power became Yhwach's special combat power, he also became Yhwach's special care object. Of course, Qian Ye is naturally not afraid of all this. In the face of absolute strength, all calculations are in vain, Wang Nuo's. What's more, even if Yhwach doesn't come to Qian Ye will go to Yhwach. What's more, when you go to Hueco Mundo, there is not only fun to get together, but also a reward upgrade system to brush up, and you can even hack Yhwach's lair first. Of course Qian Ye is not to be missed, so why not do it? However, now that Qian Ye also knows, Yhwach's attack on Soul Society is imminent. Before this, Qian Ye would give Yhwach a surprise and a special gift. Of course, Qian Ye had to make some arrangements for Soul Society and give some reminders, lest Soul Society would be caught off guard and suffer heavy losses. No, Qian Ye is leaving for the first team. Chapter 412. Qian Ye asked to go to Hueco Mundo. Kuretsuchi Mayuri secretly helped subscribe. Shigekuni's room in Yamamoto Uenohana. Captain, I want to go to Hueco Mundo. When Qian Ye saw Yamamoto Yuan Lujai, he also put forward the request very directly. Yamamoto Yuan Lujai Chongguo looked at Qian Ye with some dignity, obviously lost in thought. For Qian Ye, Yamamoto Yuan Lujai is very important. He wanted to hand over the captain of Gotei 13 to Qian Ye, but Qian Ye was unintentional. This is what Yamamoto can do. However, what made Yamamoto Genryujai Chongguo a little pleased was that now with the presence of Qian Ye under the condition of jingling Quartz serious damage, he was also more relieved. Qian Ye's strong strength, that is also no need to question, but Qian Ye does not want to take on heavy responsibilities, and this unfettered personality does give Yamamoto Yuanlujai a bit of headache. It is a pity that talents like Qian Ye are not used to be competent for the post of captain. Yamamoto Genryu Sai is a 690 person who cherishes his talents. Of course, I also hope to have a strong presence and extraordinary talents to manage Gotei 13. Yamamoto Yuanlujai believed that Qian Ye's failure to serve as the captain was also a big loss for Gotei 13. Especially in the current transitional period. Soon after the battle with Aizen was over, the combat effectiveness of the entire Gotei 13 could not be fully recovered. But at this moment, Hueco Mundo was turbulent again. Of course, Yamamoto Genryu Sai also knew that this was another sign that the rain was coming. Although it is now in Hueco Mundo, it has not yet affected the Soul Society and the world. But Yamamoto Genryu Sai also has a hunch that this day will come soon. The current Gotei 13 is also under the orders of Yamamoto Genryujai, while stepping up to restore the combat effectiveness of their respective squads, while preparing for the full battle, CDEJ, just in case. Although Yamamoto Genyanagi has retreated behind the scenes, Kyoraku Shunsui and Aizen Naneo are still in his training. For Qian Ye's proposal to go to Hueco Mundo, Yamamoto Yuan Lujai didn't want Qian Ye to go. But Yamamoto Yuanlujai not only pays much attention to Qian Ye's opinions, but also knows that even if Qian Ye has made a request, he may not be able to stop Qian Ye even if he is blocking it. Of course, Yamamoto is also very concerned about the development of the Hueco Mundo situation, and also wants to send someone to investigate. Yamamoto Genryu Sai also thought for a while, nothing more, let's be a good friend. Anyway, the result is the same. Only at this moment, Kuretsuchi Mayuri of the 12th Division came in person. Captain Yamamoto Motonuzai. According to the monitoring of our Technology Development Bureau, Kurosaki Ichigo has set off with his companions to Hueco Mundo. At the same time, the data shows that the Hueco Mundo has disappeared in a large amount, and it is still going on. The specific situation is unknown. Yamamoto Genryu Sai Shigoku became more solemn. He also knew that the Hueco Mundo situation might be a bit serious, but he didn't expect it to be so serious. Yamamoto Genyanagi also asked, Captain Kuretsuchi Mayuri, do you have some information? Kuretsuchi Mayuri said, it's not completely absent. According to statistics, it is very likely that it is a Quincy. Yamamoto Genryu Sai was not only a little surprised, but also a little gloomy. Queenskiller. Qian Ye also put on a very surprised expression. Kuretsuchi Mayuri continued, Captain Yamamoto Genryu Sai, is there really no problem? According to our guess, it is very likely that there are a large number of quintessences. I suggest sending someone to Hueco Mundo to investigate immediately. Our Technology Development Bureau not only needs detailed information, but also more specific data. Kuretsuchi Mayuri said while looking at Qian Ye with a smirk. Ever since Kuretsuchi Mayuri came in and saw Qian Ye was there, he had guessed 7 or 8 points as to why Qian Ye came. Kuretsuchi Mayuri is not only to get the information and data he said, but also to help Qian Ye secretly. Of course, Kuretsuchi Mayuri did this. It can be said that not only did it follow Qian Ye's favor, but also got what he wanted. As a mad scientist, first-hand information is what he wants most. If it wasn't for Kuretsuchi Mayuri who really couldn't walk away now, I'm afraid he had already slipped away to Hueco Mundo. However, Yamamoto Genryusai asked deliberately, Captain Kuretsuchi Mayuri, do you have any basis? Kuretsuchi Mayuri said again. Not only does it have, but it is also very positive. Because the data displayed by Hueco Mundo, this time is completely different from Shinigami and virtual data. I have called out the Keta data for comparison, and it is exactly the same. Know that our Shinigami purifies the void and maintains the balance between Hueco Mundo and the world, so as not to let the soul society and the world collapse. The characteristic of the Quincy is to completely kill the emptiness and make it fly away. It is not purification, nor does it take into account what we call balance. Captain, if I say this, you should understand. Of course Yamamoto Genryusai understands that this is exactly why they must eliminate the quintessence. However, just before Yamamoto Genryusai did not answer Kuretsuchi Mayuri, his room door was knocked again. Chapter 413. Quickmaster is messing around. Qian Ye's reminder, please subscribe. Advertise here. At this time, the door of Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni's residence was not only knocked, but also a little anxious. Yamamoto Modonyajisai Shigekuni naturally also knew that this must be someone who has important intelligence reports, and it will never be the case. Come in. Following the voice of Yamamoto Genryusai, Madarame Makaku and Ayasagawa also hurriedly opened the door and walked in. Report to Captain. According to intelligence, there is not even a single resident in Rukongai West 64 district. Yamamoto Genryusai obviously sighed, and naturally knew what happened. It seems that it is time to come, and it will come anyway. Captain, I'm going down first. Kuretsuchi Mayuri is not only not interested in how to deal with these things, but he has nothing to do with him. What he wants is all kinds of data for him to study, both Soul Society and the situation happened, he naturally has to rush back to the Technology Development Bureau. Yamamoto Modonyajisai Shigekuni also quickly made a decision. You two go down first. I know about it. Madarame Makaku and Ayasagawa also retreated immediately. Cough. Yamamoto Genryusai seemed to clear his throat when everyone else stepped back. Captain Qian Ye, how many people do you plan to take? Qian Ye responded, I will only take Nailu. Yamamoto also knew the seriousness of the matter, and said solemnly, Captain Qian Ye. This trip to Hueco Mundo is also very important. Qian Ye said again, Captain. Of course I know this. The trip to Hueco Mundo is both very important and inevitable, but the safety of Zaraki is also very important. If I guess it's right, there must be a Quincy conspiracy in it. Zaraki should be the top priority of the Quincy division, and the captain must make a defensive deployment and combat plan. Of course Yamamoto Genryusai also knows the key. Captain Qian Ye, are you saying that the Quincy killer will soon compete against Zaraki? Qian Ye also had to remind him, Captain. These quintessences not only hide extremely deep, they are also very blatant, and they are a little bit mysterious. They first caused turmoil in Hueco Mundo, and then they found Kurosaki Ichigo in this world. Now that we are making trouble in Rukongai again, this is obviously planned. It goes without saying that they will fight our Jingling Ting next step. However, there shouldn't be much fighting at first. It's just that they are not only too mysterious, but also extremely clever. The captain has to guard against it. Maybe they will suddenly appear in the captain's private residence, or even anywhere, but don't let them take advantage of the loopholes. After listening to Qian Ye's words, Yamamoto Yuan Lujai nodded in agreement. Captain Qian Ye is right. Since this Quincy is hiding so deeply, we really have to guard against it. However, Yamamoto Yuan Lujai said so, and indeed he followed Qian Ye's words, but he didn't care much. Of course, it doesn't mean that Yamamoto Genryusai didn't care at all. He would naturally give the arrangements and instructions he should give, but he didn't care about this aspect of himself anymore. Because Yamamoto Genryusai thinks that unless Yhwach comes in person, he is still a little cautious. If it's other miscellaneous fish, Yamamoto Genryusai doesn't care about it at all. After Qian Ye reminded Yamamoto Genryusai, seeing Yamamoto Genryusai also had some consideration, so he said goodbye immediately. For flowers, Captain. Then I'll go first. Go. I hope you will send back the Hueco Mundo message as soon as possible. You have to come back as soon as possible. Sarai's safety also needs you. Yamamoto Yuan Lujai is also telling the truth. In the entire Sarai, Qian Ye is indeed the biggest combat power of Gotei 13. Captain. I will, and I must. Qian Ye did not hesitate to leave the room of Yamamoto Yuan Lujai. As soon as Qian Ye returned to his small courtyard, he was shocked by the sight in front of him and was a little speechless. I saw Unohana Retsu, Nailu, and Matsumoto Rangaku at this time, but they were talking and laughing. It was very lively. What surprised and delighted Qian Ye was of course that Matsumoto Rangaku at this time not only lost the drunken image of the past, but also lost the previous pain. Qian Ye naturally knew why Matsumoto Rangaku was like this in the past. The emotion between Matsumoto Rangaku and Ichimaru Jin is not a joke. It is precisely because of this that Qian Ye is somewhat indifferent to Matsumoto Rangaku, and also wants her to vent the pain in her heart first. But what is the situation now? Only after I went out and came back, such a big change happened. Is this the face of a woman? Is it really faster than flipping a book? Qian Ye, you are back. As soon as Qian Ye entered the small courtyard, Nailu rushed forward and took Qian Ye's arm. Nailu has always been lively and cheerful, regardless. This is not only Qian Ye who has adapted to the comfort of his arm, but also Unohana Retsu seems to have long been used to it. Nailu, let me go to Hueco Mundo. Fan. Chapter 414. Qian Ye took me out to send out Hueco Mundo. The Quincy appeared in the conference room of the team. Subscribe. Advertise here. Qian Ye, is this true? Great. I wanted to go to Hueco Mundo for a long time. Who dared to do anything in Hueco Mundo? At this time, Nailu was so happy that she wanted to take a sip of Qian Ye's incense. But Nilu managed to endure it after all. She also had to take care of Unohana Retsu's. Nailu here is happy, but Unohana Retsu's face is immediately down. Unohana Retsu clearly heard that what Qian Ye said just now was just asking Nailu to accompany him to Hueco Mundo. Of course, even if Qian Ye really let Mao Ji's 693 Huali go, she would not agree. Zaraki is obviously the same now, and battles may occur at any time. As the captain of the 4th Division medical team, Unohana Retsu, of course, he must be on the front line of medical rescue, and he must not leave his post at this time. One said that he couldn't leave, but Qian Ye's decision was another matter. It can be said that Unohana Retsu at this time is not only a little self-contradictory, but also a little lost. However, Unohana Retsu's performance was quickly taken back by her. The face of a woman is really faster than flipping a book. The moment before, Unohana Retsu's face sank, and the next moment, Unohana Retsu's face was again with her signature and peaceful smile. Of course, all the changes in Unohana Retsu are naturally captured by Qian Ye. However, the current Qian Ye will not consider Unohana Retsu's mood and feelings, nor will he explain anything. What Qian Ye has to do now is to rush to Hueco Mundo as soon as possible. On the side, Matsumoto Rangaku is a little uncertain. I am afraid that even she herself does not understand what is she thinking and what she wants. Matsumoto Rangaku's heart at this time is also very contradictory. However, at this time Matsumoto Rangaku didn't know that the words of Unohana Retsu and Nailu just now were invisible and opened another door for her. Qian Ye only took the display of Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku in his eyes and put it in his heart, but he didn't care about it. Nilu, do you need anything else to prepare? Nailu directly said. No. Well, you immediately open the black chamber, and we will go to Hueco Mundo immediately. Nailu was also very happy, and she ran out of the small courtyard without saying a word. Of course, Qian Ye still had to say something to Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku. Sister Wa, Saraidi's safety, I will trouble you to bear more. Matsumoto Rangaku, the 5th Division will leave it to you. Qian Ye finished speaking, but before Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku responded, he turned and ran out of the courtyard. The two daughters of Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku, it's not that they don't want to respond to Qian Ye, but some haven't recovered. Seeing that the figure in front of them disappeared, Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku, the two daughters, were also sober, and immediately rushed out of the small courtyard. When the two daughters of Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku ran out of the small courtyard, Nailu had already opened up her black voice. Of course, the current Qian Ye, after integrating Hōgyoku, he himself can also open the black chamber, but he left the job to Nailu. This is also an excuse for Qian Ye to prove Nailu's role in front of Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku. Qian Ye, let's go. When Nailu saw Qian Ye coming out, she was also very serious and sincere. Nilu, I will be here in a while. Hueco Mundo, you must follow me closely and don't run around. Before Qian Ye set off, he still had to tell Nailu to avoid unnecessary trouble. Qian Ye, be careful. Just as Qian Ye and Nailu left, Unohana Retsu urged. Matsumoto Songju also said, Captain Qian Ye, Sister Wa and I are waiting for you. Qian Ye just nodded, but it was a little funny. Isn't it just me going to Hueco Mundo to brush up a wave of benefits? It's really like a little daughter-in-law sending a lover. In the sight of Unohana Retsu and Matsumoto Rangaku, Qian Ye and Nailu also disappeared with the disappearance of the black cavity. At the same time, the entire Gotei 13 received instructions from the captain of Yamamoto Motoi Nagasai Shigekuni. All the captains and deputy captains gathered in the conference room of the first team. However, just when Yamamoto Motoyagisai arranged the emergency preparation plan for the entire staff, he suddenly felt that there was an inexplicable sense of crisis. Yamamoto Genryusai also understood everything immediately. It turned out to be as Qian Ye reminded. 4.9 It's just that Yamamoto Genryusai didn't expect it at all, but these people are really bold, and they don't even look at them at all. Not only did he actually appear in front of him, but also in front of all the captains and deputy captains of Gotei 13. Who is here? Since you are here, don't hide your head and show your tail. As soon as Yamamoto Motoyuji's words fell, a group of strangers wearing hooded uniforms with belts and ornaments appeared behind a crowd of Shinigami captains and deputy captains. The Shinigami chiefs also immediately all turned around and looked at the group of unknown people behind them very suspiciously and somewhat angrily. Chapter 415. 5 days later, Soul Society will be annihilated by an invisible empire. Please subscribe. Advertise here. First meet. I took the liberty to bother, but I hope to forgive me. You should be the captain of Gotei 13, Yamamoto Motoyanagisai Shigekuni, right? It seems that we are here at some wrong time. Are you in a meeting? Following the answer, the one-headed also took another step forward. I'm here. I brought you a declaration of war. However, it is really surprising. As the private room of the Gotei 13 captain, it is also an exclusive service room. We can invade so easily. I have to say that your guard awareness is too low and too bad. 23. This person's sentence is not only showing themselves, but also ignoring Gotei 13, are deliberately pulling hatred. She can tolerate, which is unbearable. How could Madarame Makaku endure such insults, and immediately rushed forward. However, it was stopped by Yasugawa on the side. Also, the group of Captain Shinigami and Captain Yamamoto Motoyusei haven't spoken yet. Although Yamamoto Uenohana Shigekuni was a little surprised and a little unexpected, he calmed down quickly. Yamamoto Genryusai even pretended not to change his face, and said indifferently, "Oh yeah. There is a long way to go. But, Seraiti Gotei 13, I don't have to worry about you. As long as there is old age, there is no better and stronger guard than me." However, the person in the lead said again, "It's also. Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni, you're last, you should also be an invincible existence." Just when the man's voice hadn't finished yet, there was a loud noise suddenly. Boom. See you. The wall on the side of the meeting room of the first division collapsed in response. In addition, a black shadow-like object fell to Yamamoto not far from Genryusai. The Shinigami captains were also taken aback and prepared for the battle. However, when everyone saw the dark shadow clearly, they were not calm at all. Because of the black shadow that fell, it was Chojiro Sasaki, the deputy captain of Yamamoto Genryusai. At this time, Chojiro Sasaki was already lying straight on the ground, and on his body, there was an extremely wide blade inserted. Because Chojiro Sasaki's injuries were too serious, he had already lost his life. It was at this time that Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni, after seeing Chojiro Sasaki's death, was unable to calm down at all. It was a deceitful deception, and an inexplicable rage burned instantly. Of course, Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni also knows, careless. It's because he was careless. Yamamoto Yuan Lujai reminded Qian Ye at the time because he was too self-confident and arrogant, and he didn't take it all into his mind. The current Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni also knows, what are the consequences of his carelessness. Regrettably, I shouldn't ignore Qian Ye's reminder. It's just that regret now is useless. There is no regret for selling medicine in this world. However, Yamamoto Yuanlujai Chonguo still has no regrets that he should not let Qian Ye go to Hueco Mundo, and he should listen to Qian Ye more at the time. However, at this moment, the voice of the person in the lead came again. Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni, Captain, you don't need to rest, you should praise instead. He alone made clear the end of your waiting. All in all. Even if you wait to resist with all your strength, what about it? In the end, you will still die in despair. How can Yamamoto Motoyuji let him continue to talk about it? Isn't this disturbing our military's mind? Yamamoto Genryusai is very confident. If Yhwach is not here in person, then you will never get back. 5 days later, Soul Society will be annihilated by the Invisible Empire. Quote. Just when Yamamoto Motoyuji drew a knife and cut off at the man disappeared in place in an instant with the voice. See you. In front of Yamamoto Genryuji's eyes, there were fragments that were shattered like lenses. However, the group of people who appeared just now also followed that person and disappeared without a trace. 693. It was as if they had never appeared before, and it was like a magician of later generations who performed a wonderful magic in front of them. However, the voice of the leader is still there. Yamamoto Genryusai, you should also be wondering, who are you waiting for? However, you also know that you will not answer to you. Of course, as the great country of Yamamoto Genryusai, it must be easy to guess who you are. Goodbye. Stop. Don't want to run away. At this time, it was not only Yamamoto Genryusai who was yelling, but even the Shinigami captains were almost yelling. It's just that, whether it is the captain of Yamamoto Genryusai or the captains of Shinigami, they are all too late to take action, and they can only watch those damn it disappear into the invisible. At this time, Yamamoto Genryusai was not only very angry and black-faced, but also very embarrassed. This was in front of his subordinates, the Shinigami captain and the deputy captains, and it was considered to have thrown everyone at the grandma's house. Chapter 416. Run when you are done. The Kingdom's Selection Meeting, subscribe. Advertise here. What makes Yamamoto Genryusai feel angry and helpless is that, as if he is full of confidence and known as the strongest soul society, he has not been able to see any glitches beforehand. This time he was not only ashamed, but also killed by Sasaki Jiro. However, all this has become an indisputable fact. Obviously, such a damn-it guy is not only well prepared, but also a complete B-king. Run after installing B. Yamamoto Genryuji can only be cruel in his heart, and they must not let him find out next time. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious. Hueco Mundo. Chelsea Hunting Team. Under the leadership of Captain Giluj and Upi, the mission is being performed in Hueco Mundo. At this time, Churuji and their king, it was time to wake up. To follow any instructions from the king, Churuji and the others must do it. Of course, any instructions from the king are both fighting and dangerous. Since there is a place to fight and some people die, that is also normal and can no longer be normal. What Chariot has faced is imaginary. These emptiness, after Aizen's failure, although their strength is greatly reduced, they still have a strong presence. Seeing Shu being slaughtered by them, some of his own captains died, but Chiruja was a bit numb and used to it. In the heart of Chiruji, these emptiness must die. However, following the instructions of their king, they are required to make full use of waste, which is also a means for them to preserve their strength. The so-called waste utilization is nothing more than the use of virtuality to form a puppet army. Let them fight against themselves and stage a good show of dog biting. It's like traitors in later wars. If you want to form a puppet army, naturally you have to be selected in Hueco Mundo. And the main task of Cherubim is to choose from those who have potential and strength, and Arankar. Cherokee was sitting in a chair, and now he is the king here, and he also experienced the feeling of being a king. Not far from Chiruji, there are a large number of virtual and Arankars, being forcibly held on the ground. Now what Chiruji is going to do is the selection of supplementary troops. Moreover, it is a collective selection. This is not only the shortage of Chiruja's men, but also the serious shortage of their entire kingdom. Of course, this kind of selection is also to make these virtual or Arankars adapt to the bloody and cruel battle more quickly. What's more, the king of Chelsea and the others is a very cruel type. Therefore, what Chariot has to do is to use some special methods to strengthen the blood. The so-called bloody, that is, first kill those weak chickens who don't even have the ability to resist. Cherokee is to use these virtual blood to ignite and inspire the fighting spirit of those who participate in the selection. If in the battle, there is no fighting spirit, it is only a cannon fodder. Neither Chiruji nor their kingdom is needed nor wanted. Such subordinates are not worthy to follow their king at all. Fighting is cruel and merciless, and only the strong can survive. Those who are timid and incompetent do not need to live anymore, nor can they live. Very well, not far from Chiruji, there was also a shout. Alright, arrange everything for me. Move fast, stand me up against the wall if you don't want to die. At this moment, Chiruji also got up from his chair immediately. Obviously, this is Chiruji who is ready to do it himself. With a flash of cherub, he came before those Shu and Arankar. After a vicious glance at them, he roared. If you dare not listen to the orders, be careful that I am on your body, and add 2 or 3 more holes. At this time, these virtual or Arankars in front of him couldn't help but look at him. Everyone has already seen and understood that the one who sat on the chair before was the head here, and also their current king. Everyone knows, it seems that this is about to start. Some people are even more aware that even if they don't do it, they will still be killed. Seeing these imaginary or Arankars some commotion, Cherubim also showed his discomfort. He banged the spear in his hand against the ground vigorously. Quiet, listen to me, the next one will be a selection meeting of dead and alive. I don't care whether you are virtual or Arankar, I will treat you fairly. Wang Nuo good. Next, I will assassinate you from the far right. If you don't want to die anyway, you want to take refuge in me anyway. Then please kneel down like you are about to lick people's shoes. If someone can survive the initial attack, I hope you have luck, strength, and wisdom. Please don't waste such a rare opportunity. Otherwise, you will have to die. However, at this moment, a man with a mask on his face asked aloud. Is it okay to delete as long as you report your name? However, the answer to the spear man was that the long spear in his hand directly pierced the man's fierce chamber. Chapter 417. The Fierceness and Disdain of Chiruji. Yamamoto Genryusai will also practice Tai Chi, please subscribe. Advertise here. Cherokee's movements were not only very fast, but also very sudden. The speaker, who has not even reacted to the reaction, has already been recruited. Very good. Of course it is impossible. It's just that the person just now obviously couldn't hear it anymore. All the emptiness and Arankar are not only cold in the heart, but also stunned. Is this the answer? But Chiruji continued. Anyone who has applied for refuge must take turns to participate in our team entrance test. And this selection meeting is actually giving you the opportunity to participate in this test. For those who don't understand, it's like just now. Even though the man was obviously dead, the spear in Chiruji's hand did not stop. It was only 693 in an instant. Not only did Cherubim continuously pierce the person's heart, it also left many blood holes in that person. Seeing the actions of Chiruji, even the soldiers standing beside him were all in shock and sweating on their foreheads. It can be said that these soldiers were completely shocked by their captain Giluja. They also did not expect that their captain, Giluji, was so cruel that even the dead didn't mean to let go. However, those Shu and Arankar were even more trembling with fright, their faces pale. They also did not expect that it would be such a scene, which is completely different from what they imagined. Of course, after seeing the actions of Tsurugi, some recruits also made guesses. It seems that Captain Giluja doesn't want to take Shu and Arankar back at all. I don't even want to live in our team with Arankar. It's completely hateful to Arankar. Maybe a family member of Captain Giluja died in the hands of these Shu and Arankar. Once such a person gains power, he will naturally not give Arankar any chance of survival. These words can only be muffled in their hearts. If they are said to let Tsurugi know, then they will be dead. At this moment, the mutation happened suddenly. Seeing a flash of the figure, the spear in Tsurugi's hand was cut off in an instant. At this time, whether it was the soldiers or Shu and Arankar, they were all startled on the spot. What's the situation? Captain Tsurugi. After the soldiers came back to their senses, there were not only doubts, but also exclaims and concerns. However, the voice of Tsurugi's dissatisfaction also came. You rubbish, idiots. As for your reaction, when you called out the captain, I didn't know how many attacks I received. You were too slow, too dull. I'm also really a little surprised, haven't all of your swords been confiscated? I am not only a CDEJ stranger, but more puzzled than the soldiers. The leader of the soldier behind Giluja, although he was shaking with fright, responded quickly. Captain, we did confirm it just now, and we didn't find anyone who often had weapons. It should be hidden by someone in advance. At this time, Tsurugi, but you didn't bother to care about the soldiers behind him, and directly attacked the hooded Arankars with your own swords. Just in the blink of an eye, those Arankars were all beheaded by Cherokee. Originally, these virtual and Arankars were simply useless for Tsurugi. He also just complied with their king's instructions, and didn't mind raising a few more. However, if these virtual and Arankar are disobedient, you will kill them directly. Moreover, this is also the best destination for these virtual and Arankars. At this time, Tsurugi spoke again. Although your majesty has instructions, take some courageous fools back, but in my opinion, let's forget it. Listening to Tsurugi, not only all Shu and Arankar felt chills, but even the soldiers began to feel uneasy. Of course, I also know that among these Arankars and virtuals, there will also be some talents. However, from these virtual and Arankars, I probably know how much Aizen has. Forget it. Don't say it. Hueco Mundo has not had a strong presence since Aizen failed. Speaking of which, I am really worried in the future. At the same time, Jing Lingting, the captain of Yamamoto Genryusai, also forced himself to calm down after the quintessentially disappeared. At this time, Yamamoto Genryusai felt that he had lost face, but the overall situation in front of him still had to be taken care of. For the analysis and voice of the enemy in this invasion, Yamamoto Modonyujai decided to hand over to Kuretsuchi Mayuri, the captain of the 12th Division. Captain Kuretsuchi Mayuri, you are here to tell everyone about the monitoring report of your Technology Development Bureau. Yes, at this time, Kuretsuchi Mayuri also has an extra monitoring report that his subordinates have just sent. This also has to be said that although this report is meant to be an afterthought, the speed of the Technology Development Bureau is indeed extremely fast. Chapter 418. Zaraki is in full combat. Qian Ye finally arrives at Hueco Mundo, subscription required. Advertise here. Hearing Yamamoto Genryusai's words, Kuretsuchi Mayuri also had a dark face. Of course, Kuretsuchi Mayuri also knows that this is Yamamoto Genryusai doing Tai Chi. It seems that it is delegating power, but in fact it is avoiding responsibility. However, Kuretsuchi Mayuri looked at the report in his hands and was also very rascal. It's not a coincidence. No sooner or later, just right. This not only gave Yamamoto the opportunity to practice Tai Chi, but also pushed himself to the front. Of course, Kuretsuchi Mayuri is naturally not afraid, he is only in charge of the Technology Development Bureau. Even if the sky is down, the captain of Yamamoto Genryusai will have to come. Although Yamamoto Genryusai has retired now, and the nominal captain is Kyoraku Shunsui, in fact everyone knows that the entire Zaraki and Gotei 13 still have to be decided by Yamamoto. And what everyone currently recognizes and relies on is Yamamoto Genryusai. Once Zaraki has a major incident, he still has to take care of it by Yamamoto. In the same way, Yamamoto Genryusai will never push any committee, and any retreat. Kuretsuchi Mayuri also knew that at this time, he would not be able to speak without standing up. Since it has to be hard on, Kuretsuchi Mayuri is also very direct, and goes directly to the topic, starting to analyze one by one. Then this, travel disaster, is called the enemy for the time being. Quote. In other words, it calls itself the Invisible Empire. In fact, I think everyone knows that this time our enemy's true identity is the Destroyer. However, the invasion of the Quincy is completely different from the invasion of Kurosaki Ichigo and others at that time. Not only is this different in nature, but the way they invade is also different. Their intrusion was not only not detected by our Technology Development Bureau in advance, but even now we still don't know how they invaded. Of course, we are not without gain. According to the data left by Vice Captain Sasaki, these extinctions possess a special ability that can completely seal our Shinigami Bankai. As for what special abilities and methods are, we still have no way of knowing, and we will conduct further research. At this moment, Yamamoto Motoyanagi stopped in time and Kuretsuchi Mayuri continued to analyze it. Captain Kuretsuchi Mayuri, you don't have to continue to analyze your information, you just need to tell us where the base camp of these quintessences is. Kuretsuchi Mayuri looked a little angry at Yamamoto Genryusai, a little innocent and a little helpless. I'm sorry, I still don't know. Of course, Yamamoto Genryusai knew that this would be the result. Even he could not perceive the coming and going of these quintessences, and the Technology Development Bureau could not detect it, and it was purely normal. Yamamoto Genryusai also had no choice but to say, it seems that we can't take the initiative to attack and laugh at it. Order it all at once. From now on, we will begin to prepare for full combat. Although the enemy has told it, the time is 5 days later, but we can't listen to the words of the treacherous villain. We must be more vigilant and always be prepared to never let them seize the opportunity again. At the same time, Qian Ye took Nailu, and had already arrived not far away from Giluji and the others. Who is here? If you dare to go one step further, die. Cherub quickly killed all Arankar who had assassinated him, and stared at Qian Ye and Nailu. For flowers. However, when Cherokee saw Qian Ye and Nailu clearly, he was also a little surprised. This time it was Shinigami and Arankar, which is really strange. I didn't expect that there would be guests coming today. However, Chelsea looked fierce, and he seemed to be dismissive of Qian Ye and Nailu. In fact, Chelsea also saw the strength of Qian Ye and Nailu. Cherokee also immediately shot a white light into the sky. This white light was obviously Kilger looking for rescue and support. Qian Ye is neither blind nor stupid, and naturally knows everything. Of course, Qian Ye didn't care, and didn't bother to pay attention to it at all. What Qian Ye cares about now is that he came to Hueco Mundo for the first purpose to brush welfare. Qian Ye knew even more that Kurosaki Ichigo and others at this time were probably blocked by someone outside, and they couldn't get in at all. This is the trap and conspiracy against Kurosaki Ichigo. Yhwach naturally had arrangements. However, Qian Ye was a little uncertain whether his arrival was also in Yhwach's conspiracy. Kurosaki Ichigo is Yhwach's special combat power, Qian Ye knows it, but whether he is Yhwach's special combat power, Qian Ye really doesn't know. However, whether it is or not, it is irrelevant to Qian Ye, because he is only here to pay for the benefits. What's more, Qian Ye is also very confident. He will come as soon as he wants. Even if Yhwach comes in person, he can't stop him. However, the problem now is Nailu, because at a critical moment, he may not be able to take care of Nailu. Of course, the reason why Qian Ye wanted to bring Nailu with him also had a purpose. Because Kurosaki Ichigo currently lacks support, Qian Ye also needs Kurosaki Ichigo to attract firepower. Where? Chapter 419, Nailu's Role. Qian Ye wants to fish in troubled waters. Please subscribe. Advertise here. At this time, Qian Ye said to Nailu, Nailu, you go and help Kurosaki Ichigo. Nailu immediately became unhappy when she heard Qian Ye's words. Qian Ye, are you despising me for being your oil bottle? None of the fighting power has yet occurred. Of course, Qian Ye knew what Nailu meant. Nailu wanted to use her strength to prove her strength in the next battle. Qian Ye had no choice but to say, Nailu, why are you my oil bottle? Otherwise, I won't bring you here. Nailu was also happy in her heart. From the point of view of Nailu's 697, as long as he is not Qian Ye's oil bottle, she can stay by Qian Ye's side. That's good, since I'm not dragging oil bottles, then I don't have to leave you. Qian Ye said again. Nailu, you probably haven't understood what I mean. It is precisely because you are not dragging the oil bottle that I brought you here, and it is also because you are not dragging the oil bottle that I can rest assured that you will leave me and let you help Kurosaki Ichigo. Qian Ye's words, like tongue twisters, made Nailu confused. Then what do you mean? Since I am not dragging the oil bottle anymore, why do you want to drive me away? At this time, Nailu not only really didn't understand, but also a little confused. Qian Ye said again. Nailu, I need your help now. And your help is to help Kurosaki Ichigo. Before Qian Ye finished speaking, Nailu was even more dizzy. Qian Ye, where is this? The help you need, shouldn't I be by your side to help you defend against the enemy? What does this have to do with whether I help Kurosaki Ichigo? Qian Ye said again. Of course it does matter, because Kurosaki Ichigo's combat power alone is not strong enough to attract more and stronger combat power from the Quincy. You should understand now. Nailu finally showed a smile. I understand, you want to use Kurosaki Ichigo, the others and me, to attract the powerful fighting force of the Quincy. You are so good at fishing in troubled waters. Nailu is Aizen's first 3 blades. Of course, her intelligence is not too weak and she can see through. It seems that I am still useful. Qian Ye, don't worry. I will do it for you, and I will never let you down. However, you have to be more careful, and remember to find me when you are done. Qian Ye said. You should also be careful, safety first, don't try too hard. However, if things are too urgent at that time, I may have to rush back to Soul Society first. At that time, I will also try to inform you. It depends on the situation at that time. You can go back to Soul Society alone, or you can join Kurosaki Ichigo and the others. You decide for yourself. Go. I'm waiting for your good news and surprises for me. Originally, after Qian Ye came to Hueco Mundo, he was planning to find Kurosaki Ichigo first and leave Nailu behind. However, by some coincidence, Qian Ye hadn't seen Kurosaki Ichigo, but first ran into Quincy Kilge, Oppi. Qian Ye had to let Nailu go to Kurosaki Ichigo by himself. For Nailu, Qian Ye is still a little relieved. Not only is Yinlu powerful, but it is also the Espada of Hueco Mundo. As for the terrain and the roots of Hueco Mundo, it is difficult to have a second person. Someone is familiar with Nailu. You know, Nailuo is not only the first 3 knives, and after losing the first 3 knives, she lived all the days of fleeing Hueco Mundo. Can you survive the various pursuits of Hueco Mundo? Can you say she can be unfamiliar? It is precisely because of this that Qian Ye is relieved to let Nailu go to Kurosaki Ichigo alone. Qian Ye believes that not only will Nailu find Kurosaki Ichigo and the others soon, there will be no danger at all. Even if Nailu runs into a powerful Quincy, and Nailu wants to hide, it is not the Quincy who can find her. After knowing the strength of Qian Ye and Nailu, Cherub naturally wouldn't be so stupid that he would immediately start with Qian Ye. Since he sent a signal of support, Cheruji also believed that their king would soon send reinforcements. And just when Cherubim discovered that Nailu was leaving, Cherubim not only didn't mean to stop him at all, but was also very happy. For Cheruje, credit is of course important, but it also has to be life-threatening to enjoy. Inkluji is very clear that even Qian Ye is difficult for him to deal with. Besides, there is another, the same powerful Nailu. Kilger 4.9 can be said to have no opinion on Nailu's departure. Originally, Qian Ye was also included in the special combat power data that Yhwach had designated. In addition, there is still such information in the hands of Cheruji. It's just that, because Qian Ye is usually a little bit invisible, it is difficult to describe his image in detail. It is precisely because of this that until now, Cherud hasn't been able to recognize Qian Ye. However, after Nailu left, Qian Ye slowly walked towards Cheruji. I said, Kilger, the hunting captain of Gillis, Upi, shouldn't we also come to fight? Chapter 420. Cherubim's careful plan. Crowd tactics. Please subscribe. Advertise here. After Cherokee heard what Qian Ye said, he was also surprised and happy. What surprised Cheruja was that the Shinigami in front of him, although he didn't know him, but he knew me. And I also know that I am the captain of our king's hunting team here. For Chelsea, this is a face-saving thing. I still disdain and don't want to fight with you. For the sake of his own safety, Cherubim had to say something against his will. A joke, you all know that you are very powerful, and some are invincible. Besides, I just have to be patient for a while, and it's not easy for me to wait until the reinforcements arrive, and then take you down. In this way, there will be battle achievements, and there is no need to risk it, so why not do it? Joke, now you let me go and fight alone, do you think I am stupid, or do you think your life is too long? However, Qian Ye 23 didn't want to just let Kailuja go. Didn't you just say that you dare to step forward and die? Why, I have stepped forward a few steps, why don't you do it? You shouldn't be waiting for reinforcements. I just saw that you sent the signal. Qian Ye wants to brush the welfare. If he wants to get the welfare, then naturally he has to fight with the Quincy. Moreover, Qian Ye also knew that the more benefits he wanted, the richer he would have to fight with different quintessential divisions. Of course, Qian Ye is not yet confident that he can single out all the Quincy. Qian Ye also knew that Yhwach's subordinates belong to the Star-Crossed Knights of Quincy. This is what Qian Ye plans to use Kurosaki Ichigo and Nailu to attract firepower. Cherokee said, can I change my plan now? Besides, haven't you seen that I have killed so many Arankars just now? I'm tired. Of course Qian Ye also knew that this was because Cheluji was afraid of fighting alone with him, and was looking for excuses to delay the time, so as to wait for the arrival of reinforcements. It's just that Qian Ye came to Hueco Mundo this time, and he only came to clean up the welfare, and didn't want to slaughter these Quincy masters. Because Qian Ye knew even more that even if he could kill as many Quincy masters, it would be useless. You know, these quintessences are not only Yhwach's subordinates, but also the means used by Yhwach to make themselves stronger. In other words, once a Quincy was killed in battle, Yhwach would immediately reclaim their power and use them for their own use, making themselves stronger again. Not only that, Yhwach can also use his holy power to resurrect his subordinates. Therefore, under normal circumstances, Qian Ye would not kill these Quincy masters. Rather than beheading these quintessences, it's better to inflict them severely, make them headaches, and also play a role in reducing the combat effectiveness of the quintessences. Of course, if Yhwach sees through by then, there is no way. Not doing Cherokee does not mean that Qian Ye is not doing anything. However, Qian Ye did not intend to liberate his Zanpakuto to fight. For the current Qian Ye, even if he does not use Zanpakuto, he can easily fight Reiatsu with his current speed. Unless it is Cheruji who uses his box pressing trick, and the Quinier has strong reinforcements. However, Cherubim is not stupid either. He is prepared to delay time, and he is naturally well prepared. Just when Qian Ye was about to approach him, Chelsea didn't advance but retreated. At the same time, Kailahe even gave his subordinates the order to besiege Qian Ye to fight to death. Follow me all, stop the Shinigami, and the retreat died. These soldiers were originally very afraid of Giluja, and under the order of Giluja, they all rushed towards Qian Ye recklessly. It's completely a crowded tactic. The reason is very simple. It doesn't seek victory, but only delays time. Time is life, and this is also what Churuji thought at this time. Soon, Qian Ye was surrounded by these soldiers for 3 layers. The combat effectiveness of these soldiers is not strong, but they are crowded. Originally, Qian Ye could completely ignore these soldiers without 697, and directly use his Reiatsu to form a vacuum zone around him. Besides, Qian Ye can also use Lingxi to jump into the air, avoiding the besieged by these soldiers. But Qian Ye didn't do this. What did he come to do? He came to use the Quincy Master to clean up the welfare. Qian Ye looked at the densely packed, hundreds of soldiers, but he was happy in his heart. How much welfare did I have to use? Although Qian Ye also knew that these soldiers, due to their weak strength, would certainly not have much welfare. But even if every soldier is pitifully few, it can't hold up the crowd. Besides, although the sparrow is small, it is also meat. Seeing this, Qian Ye even put away Zanpakuto. Also, for these soldiers, Qian Ye still disdains his Zanpakuto, let alone his Shikai and Bankai. At this time, Chelsea, after retreating, was also ready to face the battle. Of course, Cherokee knew that these soldiers could not stop Qian Ye for a long time. Chapter 421. Chelsea's Trump Card. Qian Ye's Disappointment. Please subscribe. Cherokee actually has a whole card, but he can't guarantee success. Of course, Chelsea's Trump Card is the star in his hand. This star is specially used to capture Shinigami's Bankai. It can be said that this is exactly Yhwach's conspiracy, and it is also the guarantee and the biggest hole card for Yhwach to win. Yhwach is about to come up with a surprise victory and catch the Shinigami captains of Soul Society by surprise. Once Bankai of Soul Society's captain Shinigami is taken away, Yhwach is sure to win. Yhwach not only wanted to avenge Soul Society, but also let the Shinigami die in despair and fear. Especially those Shinigami captains, don't they rely on their strong combat power? And their powerful combat power, of course, is their Zanpakuto's Bankai ability. As long as they take away their Bankai, these powerful Shinigami captains will almost be defeated by half. Moreover, Yhwach still has a backhand. His backhand is that Quincy can not only seize the understanding of the Shinigami captains, but also use it for himself. At that time, the Quincy used the Bankai he had obtained from Captain Shinigami, and then went to kill Captain Shinigami. This is not only Yhwach's perfect plan, but it is also very interesting. However, this plan is not completely perfect, because among these Shinigami captains, there are surprises. This accident is Shinigami of the Special War power, designated by Yhwach. A special existence like Kurosaki Ichigo cannot be captured because of their Bankai. This is why Uhaba wants to send Ebone to the world to find Kurosaki Ichigo. The reason is no different. Yhwach is using Kurosaki Ichigo to do experiments. The result, of course, is no surprise. These special Shinigami, their Bankai is really unattainable. Of course, Yhwach also implemented a serial plan. It is also taking advantage of the personalities and psychology of Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo. Even if they cannot take their Bankai, they can be attracted to Hueco Mundo. As long as Kurosaki Ichigo and Qian Ye arrive at Hueco Mundo, they want to return to Soul Society. I am afraid it will not be so easy. Because in Yhwach's series, he did not aim to kill Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo, but trap them in Hueco Mundo temporarily. Yhwach will also take advantage of this gap and attack Soul Society to take the Bankai of the Shinigami captains first. As for the captain of Yamamoto Genryuzai Shigekuni, Yhwach also knows very well that it is impossible for Yamamoto Genryuzai to play in person until the critical moment or the end. Besides, the competition for Yamamoto and Yhwach has a special plan. It can be said that this is the real purpose of Yhwach. It's just that Qian Ye doesn't know all this. Moreover, Qian Ye still doesn't know whether he is also Yhwach's special combat power. Of course, whether it is right or not is not important to Qian Ye, and Qian Ye doesn't care at all. Yhwach has his conspiracy, and Qian Ye also has his plan. Chelsea on one side already holds the star that can capture Shinigami in his hand. Of course, this star is good for Bankai that can capture Shinigami. However, that would have to let Shinigami liberate Zanpakuto and use his Bankai. However, this star can only capture Shinigami's Bankai. The other abilities of Shinigami cannot be captured, even Shikai of Zanpakuto of Shinigami cannot be captured. Kailahei used the soldiers to besiege Qian Ye, just to delay the time and wait for the arrival of reinforcements. It is forcing Qian Ye to use his Zanpakuto Bankai. Also, in general, for ordinary Shinigami, at this time, they will naturally liberate their Zanpakuto abilities. Even direct Bankai is possible. As soon as Qian Ye uses Bankai, Chelsea's opportunity will come. This is an opportunity to turn defeat into victory, and it is also an opportunity for Chelsea to wait and plan. Qian Ye, who had lost the ability of Bankai, was just the meat on the cutting board to Churuji, let him slaughter. However, when Cherokee saw that Qian Ye had put away his Zanpakuto, he was not only a little black, but also very disappointed. However, At this time, it was not only Chirrub who was disappointed, but Qian Ye was also the same. Wang Nujiao. Qian Ye was disappointed that he received a disappointing message and confirmation from the battle of these Quincy Division soldiers. That is, these soldiers are useless to Qian Ye's welfare plan at all. Qian Ye also came to understand, because the ranks of these Quincy Division soldiers were too low, even if he slaughtered all these soldiers, there would be no gain at all. Even though these soldiers were useless to him, Qian Ye didn't bother to continue wasting time with them. Qian Ye's powerful Reiatsu is an instant release. How can these soldiers fight against Qian Ye's powerful Reiatsu? Just in the blink of an eye, all the Quinquez soldiers within 5 meters were exploded and killed instantly. Chapter 422, Qian Ye is showing his power. Nailu is in place to save. Subscribe. Advertise here. At this time, within 5 meters of Qian Ye's surroundings, it completely became a vacuum zone. Of course, this is because Qian Ye deliberately controlled the release of his Reiatsu, otherwise, I am afraid it is not just a 5-meter range. However, this is not to say how soft-hearted Qian Ye is, but that Qian Ye disdains to kill these soldiers. For a meaningless battle, how could Qian Ye waste time on them? At this moment, time is a life for Kilgore, but Qian Ye's time is not only his welfare, but also very precious. Because Qian Ye is already the Shinigami captain of Soul Society Gotei 13, naturally he can't be selfish and completely ignore the safety of Soul Society. Qian Ye also rushed back to Soul Society to save the scene after getting certain benefits. At the same time on the other side, Nailu also quickly found Kurosaki Ichigo and others. When Nailu hurried away, Kurosaki Ichigo, 700 Sato Yasutora, and Grimmjow were all caught in a hard fight. However, Uruhara Kazuki and Inoue Orihime on the side did not participate in the fierce battle. Of course, it is not that Uruhara Kazuki does not participate in the battle and has a leisurely mind to watch the show, but that Uruhara Kazuki comes here with a special mission and purpose. As for Inoue Orihime, the original combat effectiveness was not very strong, and Uruhara Kazuki could only keep her by his side to protect. Inoue Orihime's greatest achievement is not to fight, but to rescue. As long as Inoue Orihime is there, for Kurosaki Ichigo, Sato Yasutora, and Grimmjow, there are countless lives. Also, no matter how serious the injuries are, Kurosaki Ichigo, Sato Yasutora, and Grimmjow, as long as they are not injured at all, they are not dead, and Orihime can quickly restore them. CDEJ, this is the first battle plan that Uruhara Kazuki and Kurosaki Ichigo have discussed. Kurosaki Ichigo, Sato Yasutora and Grimmjow not only had to fight on their own, but also had to block the enemy's attack as much as possible, Uruhara Kazuki and Inoue Orihime. Uruhara Kazuki followed Kurosaki Ichigo and the others to Hueco Mundo. In fact, like Qian Ye, they have a different purpose. Qian Ye is to find Quincy masters for their benefits, and Uruhara Kazuki is to collect various data of Quincy and Hueco Mundo. Because Uruhara Kazuki learned from Kurosaki Ichigo that the Quincy had a special ability to capture Shinigami Bankai, he also knew the importance of things. Originally, Kurosaki Ichigo was going to tell the news to Soul Society first, but it was blocked by Uruhara Kazuki. Uruhara Kazuki also knows the importance of time, and time waits for no one. Uruhara Kazuki must also race against time to rush to Hueco Mundo as soon as possible to collect all kinds of data about the Quincy and the Void. In this way, the reason for the Quincy's seizure of Shinigami Bankai's ability is researched and tried to crack, otherwise the consequences for Soul Society will be disastrous. Of course Uruhara Kazuki knew that, even if Kurosaki Ichigo reported the news to Soul Society, it was of no use. If there is no data for them to study and find a way to decipher the Quincy's seizure of Shinigami Bankai, everything is in vain. Of course, as for Soul Society, Uruhara Kazuki will naturally communicate with Kuretsuchi Mayuri. When Uruhara Kazuki saw Nailu's arrival, he was also a little surprised. However, Uruhara Kazuki quickly understood that this must be Qian Ye's intentional arrangement. After Uruhara Kazuki got the information about the current life of the Quincy, he naturally knew that Qian Ye of Soul Society must have also entered Hueco Mundo. For Nailu, Uruhara Kazuki not only knows but also knows very well. After all, where is Nailu's strength? Not to mention, the current Nailu is by Qian Ye's side. Nilu, come here soon. Seeing Uruhara Kazuki greet herself, Nailu came to Uruhara Kazuki and Inoue Orihime in a flash. Nailu, why are you here? Didn't Captain Qian Ye come? Inoue Orihime also asked quickly. Of course, Inoue Orihime also heard Kurosaki Ichigo said that Qian Ye might also come to Hueco Mundo to join them. Qian Ye has other things, let me come and help you first. Nailu also said directly. When Uruhara Kazuki heard Nailu's words, his eyes were also "Am I?" and of course he knew that Qian Ye must also have a story. However, Uruhara Kazuki is not a troublesome person, and just heard it. Nilu, the fighting situation here is indeed not very good, and we need to add combat power. Since you are here, it is also very good, Kurosaki Ichigo and others rely on your help. When Nailu came over, she just greeted Uruhara Kazuki and Inoue Orihime. Her important task is naturally not only to help Kurosaki Ichigo and the others defend against the enemy, but also to complete Qian Ye's task of attracting the firepower of the Quincy. Nailu didn't talk any more nonsense, rushed directly to the Quincy, and joined Kurosaki Ichigo and the others. The leader of the Quincy saw Nailu's arrival, and saw that Nailu was not only strong, but also not Shinigami, but was also afraid of a missed plan. A white light rose to the sky again. Chapter 423. Nailula hates success. Qian Ye faces Kilger, please subscribe. Advertise here. Oops. These damn it guys are calling the rescue army again. Urahara Kazuki also shook his head a little and felt helpless. Previously, it was the Quencher who used this white light to quickly attract more and stronger reinforcements. It is precisely because of this change that Kurosaki Ichigo and the others have fallen into a bitter battle. Urahara Kazuki at this time also understood a little, it seems that this is exactly Yhwach's conspiracy. And they obviously have fallen into Yhwach's trap. Now even if they want to retreat, they are still somewhat unlikely. At this time, Yhwach, after receiving another rescue from Basby, was also a little unhappy. For Kurosaki Ichigo, Yhwach has no plans to kill him yet. It is naturally the best to be able to conquer it. Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu, it can be said that in Yhwach's plan, they are both his pawns, and they are also the help he wants most. This time, after knowing that Kurosaki Ichigo would enter Hueco Mundo, Yhwach sent Kiljan Basby, and took the people separately, first to stop Kurosaki Ichigo and Qian Ye. However, Kurosaki Ichigo appeared and was stopped by Basby. But because Kurosaki Ichigo is not only strong, and unable to capture his Bankai, but also has a powerful helper. Moreover, Kurosaki Ichigo is also not threatened by the capture of Bankai. Kurosaki Ichigo's Bankai could not be captured, neither Sato Yasutora nor Grimmjow belonged to Shinigami, and naturally they did not have Bankai capabilities. Even Urahara Kazuki and Inoue Orihime are the same. The Quincy's ability to seize Shinigami Bankai is equally useless. Although Urahara Kazuki has Bankai, he also belongs to Yhwach's special combat power. Not to mention that Urahara Kazuki has scruples that the Quincy can seize Bankai's ability, and did not use his Bankai solution, even if he uses it, the Quincy cannot seize it. Basby came with instructions to stop and trap Kurosaki Ichigo and others, not to kill him. This Busby was not only a little unhappy, but also very helpless. Faced with Kurosaki Ichigo and others alone, he had to send a signal for help. Yhwach also immediately dispatched Lidodo Lampardo, with a few people from the Horse Knight Order, to support. Thanks to Lidodo, Lampardo and her partners, Bombietta, Bastabam, Manina, Makaran, Katniss, Catnip, Giselle, and Jewel joined, it had already stabilized the situation. But Nailu came to support it again. Nailu is not only powerful, but the ability of the Quincy to seize Shinigami Bankai is also useless. At this time, Nailu, thanks to the invisible help of Qian Ye Hōgyoku's ability, has also improved by leaps and bounds, and is even stronger than Kurosaki Ichigo. After discussing with Lidodo, Busby was not allowed to send out a signal for help again. Yhwach had no choice but to let Ace, Not and Kangdu rush to help immediately. At this time, Yhwach also received a message from Cherokee asking for help. However, what made Yhwach a little surprised was that the person who seemed to be stopped by Chiluji did not seem to be Qian Ye. Whether it is Qian Ye or not, Yhwach will not let anyone destroy his plan. It was to send Dalisk, Belch, Jerome, and Kisbat to rush to support Kailuja. For flowers. After Qian Ye on the other side knew that his punch card was useless to these Quincy masters, Yunlingxi jumped into the air and pursued Chiruji. At this time, Chiruji also knew that even if he wanted to hide now, it was impossible. Although Chiruji was a little afraid of Qian Ye's mighty strength, he was not yet afraid of being a deserter. Besides, Chelsea didn't dare at all. He was also delaying time before waiting for the right of reinforcements. If Cherajay really became a deserter, their king would not let him go either. 0.00. Moreover, his fate is probably much worse than his death in Qian Ye's hands. As their king's subordinate, a member of the Knights of the Quincy Star Cross, who possesses the holy character J, of course, he is also very aware of the consequences. Since he could no longer hide, Chelsea also chose to face it directly. As long as the Shinigami in front of him can use his Bankai ability, after he successfully seizes it, everything can be reversed. Cherokee also said, "Don't you use your Zanpakuto?" When Qian Ye heard the sudden words of Kyrgyzstan, of course he understood why Kilgi asked. Don't you just want to use the small shield in his hand to seize his Bankai ability? Qian Ye also wanted to know whether his Bankai, the ability of the Quincy Master, could also be successfully seized. Regarding this, Qian Ye is not afraid, even if his Bankai ability can be captured by the Quincy, Qian Ye is confident enough to recapture it in the first place. However, before that, Qian Ye had to find Chelsea to get his benefits first. Moreover, Qian Ye is even more looking forward to it, what kind of welfare will be like. Chapter 424. Do you want me? I know how to talk about speed, please subscribe. Advertise here. Since Qian Ye knew the purpose of Chelsea, naturally he would not let him do so. I don't need Zanpakuto, nor liberate Zanpakuto for you. Even if I use Zanpakuto, I only liberate Shikai. See if I am not anxious to kill you, demo. Give me a fight and see how I play with you. Of course, with Qian Ye's current strong strength, even if Qian Ye did not use the new soul sword ability, it would be very easy to deal with Jiluji. Why should I use my Zanpakuto? Qian Ye asked pretendingly. You Shinigami, didn't you liberate your 700 Zanpakuto's ultimate ability, that is, after Bankai, you are the strongest. If you don't liberate your Zanpakuto's Bankai, you will not be my opponent at all. In order to allow Qian Ye to use his Bankai, Chelsea spoke directly. However, the words of Chelsea are obviously useless to Qian Ye. I used Bankai, can you give me any benefit? Qian Ye asked with a smile. There are benefits, of course, because at least you can save your life. Isn't this the biggest benefit you can get? Qian Ye said again. It's just to save my life. Even if I don't use Zanpakuto, I can live well as usual. It's you should think about how to save your life. I can tell you, I'm really strong. Qian Ye was talking while looking at the star badge in Kilger's hand. Of course Qian Ye had guessed that it must have been the star that Kilger used to capture Shinigami Bankai. Once Shinigami uses Bankai, Kilger will immediately use sterilization, thus taking away all the capabilities of Shinigami Bankai. Seeing that Qian Ye was not on the set, Cherub was ready to force Qian Ye to use his Zanpakuto and use Zanpakuto's final Bankai. See you. Kilger moved quickly, and quickly concentrated a large number of souls under his feet. At the same time, however, a prompt appeared above Kilger's head. Flying feet. Yes, the attack that Chiruji was about to use was the Quiller's scythe. Flying sickle feet. Are you a Quincy? Qian Ye pretended to be surprised, and deliberately exclaimed. Yes, we are the Quincy. However, you seem to be a little late to know now. Qian Ye's current omniscience and omnipotence ability is only limited to this, which is why Qian Ye will come to Hueco Mundo to brush benefits. Because Qian Ye's omniscience and omnipotence are completely different from Yhwach's omniscience and omnipotence. Not only that, Qian Ye's current omniscience and omnipotence is an upgraded version. However, it is still at the lowest level, that is, it can only know what moves the opponent uses. Of course, it is not completely useless. Once omniscient and omnipotent know the moves, no matter how fast the opponent is, here in Qian Ye, it is like slow motion and can be easily cracked. Moreover, Qian Ye's omniscience and omnipotence are useful to all enemies, but if he wants to be upgraded, he can only face the battle with the Quincy. This is the real reason why Qian Ye came to Hueco Mundo, to find the Quincy to fight. Of course Qian Ye knew that the powerful enemy he faced next was the Quincy. To be on the safe side, in order to allow him to take the absolute initiative, Qian Ye must first upgrade his omniscience and omnipotence, and ascend to the higher the better. As long as this is the case, Qian Ye will have a better chance of winning when facing the battle of the Quincy. Are you scared? Then I will let you see the real power of the Quixisian Fei sighting. When Cherokee launched an attack on Qian Ye, he could not help but reminded, if you want to save your life, you should use your self-solving ability as soon as possible. Otherwise I will make you regret coming to Hueco Mundo and meeting mine. However, Qian Ye still smiled and said, isn't it just talking fast? My instant coaxing is not slow. Then we will come and try, who is faster, who is stronger, who will regret it. I tell you again, I am really strong. Of course, Qian Ye said back, and did not immediately resort to his instant release. Because Qian Ye was waiting for Cherokee to approach him. Only when Chelsea gets close to him and fights with him, can Qian Ye be considered successful, and his omniscience and omnipotence can be upgraded. Moreover, there is a certain time limit, which does not mean that it can be done as soon as it gets closer. However, it is fortunate that Qian Ye not only has low-level omniscience and omnipotence, but Chelsea's all speed is 4.9 degrees, and all attacks are extremely slow for Qian Ye. Moreover, Qian Ye also has the ability to move at high speed and high Reiatsu's defense. It is not difficult to avoid the attacks of Cherokee without being far away from Cherokee. Jiluji also moved fast to the extreme, without any hesitation, and soon launched an attack on Qian Ye. Of course, Chelsea also knew that an attack like this might not really hurt Qian Ye. However, what Chiruja wanted was not whether he could hurt Qian Ye, but to bring a dangerous threat to Qian Ye, thereby forcing Qian Ye to use his Bankai ability. This is the real purpose of Chelsea at this time. Chapter 425. Check-in successfully. Improve foresight. Advertise here. It can be said that Qian Ye and Chiluji both have their own goals and their own means. The final key is to see who is better, who is the final winner. At this time, Qian Ye also wanted to experience how fast Chelsea's foot speed was. Qian Ye only knew that the speed at which Ishida Yulong's feet flew was completely incomparable with his instant opening. Shinigami's speed relies on Shunpo, Virtual relies on ringing, but Quincy relies on flying sickle feet. Shinigami's Shunpo focused Reiatsu there to explode. The sound of the Virtual and the Arankar is to tear the air apart, thereby producing high-speed movement. On the other hand, the feet of the Quencher's flying sickle use the concentrated spirit under the feet to slide quickly. Shunpo relies on the flexible movement of the feet. Every time it moves, there will be 23 subtle movements and the phenomenon of leaning forward. The feet of the flying sickle rely on the condensed spirit under the feet to rigidly transfer. Therefore, there will be shaking when moving. However, Qian Ye's instant coax, that has surpassed Shunpo's limit, it is exactly like reaching another dimension. Qian Ye was also in order to upgrade his omniscience and omnipotence, and did not exert all his strength, but only used it to match the speed of Giluji, not to let him stay away from him. Trigger the omniscience and almighty progress task completed. Progress +1. Qian Ye was finally able to check in successfully. Just as Qian Ye had expected, if he wanted to upgrade his omniscience and omnipotence, he really had to fight with members of the Knights of the Star Cross of Quincy. It seems that it is not effective for other people. This is probably the reason why their level is too low and the difficulty factor is not enough. At this moment, when Qian Ye looked at Kailuji again, a reminder appeared above his head. Spirit bow attack can be fired continuously. And at this time, Chiruja hadn't actually changed anything. When Qian Ye saw the hint above Kyrgyzstan's head, Kyrgyzstan knew that he was obviously not Qian Ye's opponent when it came to speed. If the speed is not good, then add the spirit bow attack. Chelsea quickly drew out the big knife, but the big knife of Chelsea changed very quickly. Qian Ye was also a little surprised when he saw this. Is it still a big sword? Isn't it a bow? Qian Ye also came over immediately, and this was the spirit bow of Cherub. Seeing this, Qian Ye understood even more that his omniscience and omnipotence had indeed changed a little. Previously, it was only after seeing the opponent's movements that he knew what kind of attack it was. But now it is the first to know what kind of attack the other side will be, before the other side takes any action. It has indeed improved a lot, and it is undoubtedly a head start when the two sides are fighting. Cherokee seemed to be not only a little impatient, but also a little bit fierce. Once the spirit bow in his hand took shape, it launched an attack like a cannonball. Cherub's attack was not only very fierce, but also powerful. It also blocked Qian Ye's front and back, leaving Qian Ye in an inevitable situation of retreat and avoidance. Of course, it was Cyrus forcing Qian Ye to use his Zanpakuto to fight. For Shinigami, using Zanpakuto, and liberating Zanpakuto, and even Zanpakuto's final form, Bankai, is Shinigami's strongest combat power. However, Chelsea's attack, in his own view, could completely drive Qian Ye into a dangerous situation, and he would surely use his Zanpakuto Bankai to crack it. It can be said that the star badge in the hands of Chiruji has long been ready to go. As long as Qian Ye uses his Zanpakuto's Bankai, Cherokee will immediately use the sterilization, thus taking away all the power of Qian Ye Bankai. It's just that, this is only Chiruji's opinion. For Qian Ye, Chelsea's attack was not only vulnerable, but also full of loopholes. Qian Ye didn't need to fight back at all, so he could easily jump out of Cherub's attack circle. Qian Ye only increased his instantaneous opening speed, using Reiatsu defense to protect his body. At this time, Qian Ye had already achieved his goal, so naturally he didn't need to deliberately stick 700 near Kailahe. Boom. Although Chelsea's attack failed to hit Qian Ye, it was around Qian Ye and caused continuous bombing. Cherokee also felt that his eyes were blinded, and he had lost the target of his attack. And just as Cherokee was a little surprised and uncertain, Qian Ye's voice also came. Don't you know how to use bows and arrows? If this is the case, my battle with you should also end. How did you do it, and who are you? Cherokee also couldn't help asking. At this time, Cherokee obviously knew that he was afraid that he might have encountered a powerful existence. But what makes Kailahe a little confused is that as far as he knows, there should be no such powerful existence in Soul Society's Shinigami. Didn't he even use his Zanshin Soul Blade? It doesn't matter who I am, what matters is that you didn't take my words to heart. Didn't I tell you that I am really strong? Chapter 426. Jiloji was locked up in a small black house. Qian Ye's identity was seen through. Advertise here. Cherokee also seemed to be stimulated by Qian Ye, and he seemed to have lost his original reason. This fact is totally unbearable for Chelsea, especially Chelsea is still a soldier. The non-stop attacking attacked Qian Ye very violently again. However, Qian Ye was still very at ease. He couldn't hurt him even a single hair, let alone force him to use Zanpakuto to fight. Chili Hunter Captain, if you do this again, you will. Captain Giluja, stop now. However, even before Qian Ye's words were finished, there was a sigh of silence. Following the sound, two figures appeared on the other side of Qian Ye. Naturally, the reinforcements sent by Yhwach, Dalisk, Burke and Jerome Kisbat. One of them had a thick beard, well-defined, very rough, with an iron chain tied around his waist, and a very enlightened figure. When Qian Ye saw this person, he naturally recognized him immediately. This is Dalisk, Bursi, one of the members of the Knights of the Star Cross of the Invisible Empire. The sacred word, O, was awarded by Yhwach, and the symbolic ability is massive killing. The other has yellow curly hair, but no bangs on the front, wide raised eyebrows, and a very strong and sturdy physique. Some black people of later generations have very sharp long nails, like tiger teeth. His monster face is also a very rough man. Also awarded by Yhwach the Invisible Empire Code, R, the symbolic ability is Roar. However, Qian Ye did not have one of the members of the Star Cross Knights and was known as a prison. Because for Qian Ye, the current Cherokee has no effect on him. Since it has no effect, naturally there is no need to participate in the battle. Of course, Qian Ye also kept his hands, and didn't give Chelsea to death. But if it is wounded and disabled, it all depends on the strength and good fortune of Chiruji. Similarly, Qian Ye did not use his Zanpakuto, but instead used Hado's 90, Black Coffin. After hearing that the drink stopped, not only did Chiruya not feel the slightest dissatisfaction, on the contrary, he was very pleased. Inkaluji knew that he succeeded, and he waited for reinforcements. Now he is not only immortal and undefeated, but also able to bring this damned and powerful Shinigami. Cherokee is also very confident. With the arrival of reinforcements, why not worry? Qian Ye does not use Zanpakuto, and uses his Bankai. As long as Qian Ye uses his Zanpakuto Bankai ability, there is only one result waiting for Qian Ye, that is, Qian Ye's Bankai ability is taken away. As for who was taken, it doesn't matter to Chiruji. In short, the members of their Quincy Star Cross, as well as the members who have been awarded the Invisible Empire's Holy Script, have stars or shields that can seize Shinigami Bankai's ability. However, as soon as Chelsea stopped his attack on Qian Ye, it happened by accident. Just for a moment, Ji said that Jia hadn't been happy for a long time, but after seeing a mouthful of Black Coffin, he put Chiluya in. Even the two of Dalisk and Jerome who came here, let alone want to save, didn't even have time to remind them. Black Coffin. This is Aizen's special skill, Kido, and its power is of course needless to say. However, this 90 Black Coffin of Hado is now used by Qian Ye. Qian Ye didn't even sing, and the power was not comparable to the power that Aizen exerted. Qian Ye naturally knows, isn't Cherige's masterpiece a prison? Then let Kuruji, who always uses the small black house to confront the enemy, also have a taste, Shinigami Kido's small black house. Qian Ye wanted to let Chelsea also taste what it's like to be locked in a black house. Qian Ye is really hard to say whether Chiruji is dead or alive, and he is not worried at all. However, in Qian Ye's opinion, this Cherokee. As for death, injury or disability, Qian Ye is somewhat difficult to judge. Ah, damn it guy, it is useless to say that Chiruji is strong. Just before Daleks and Jerome hadn't come to the rescue, with Cherubim's infiltrating screams, Cherubim also broke the black coffin. It's just that, at this time, Chiruji didn't have a bit of his original image, and even his breathing had become weak. No part of the whole body can be said to be intact. Zhao's. This is the situation where Qian Ye has stayed behind and has not tried his best. Because Qian Ye didn't have the idea of putting Chelsea to death from the very beginning. However, the current Chiruji, although he is not dead yet, has completely lost his combat effectiveness, but still retains a trace of his intellect. It was terrible, and I finally tried the taste of being locked in a black room. Dalisk and Jerome were relieved to see that Chiruji had breached Black Coffin. As long as people are not dead and have Yhwach's existence, it is very easy to recover. However, when Dalisk saw Qian Ye's face clearly, he exclaimed. Qian Ye, Captain Shinigami Qian Ye, Chapter 427. Qian Ye is also a special combat power. Kyrgyzstan misreports military intelligence. Advertise here. Qian Ye. How is this name familiar? Cherokee, who is still wise, is also muttering to himself. Oh, isn't this one of the special combat powers that His Majesty Yhwach has designated? The purpose of our hunting team is not to stop Qian Ye and another special force, Kurosaki Ichigo. Until then, Cherokee finally knew the true identity of Qian Ye. Chelsea was even more bitter, because he knew that although he asked for help from His Majesty Yhwach, he did not send out a signal to find special combat power. If Yhwach is guilty, he is afraid that he will not escape to death. This is not only his negligence, but also a false report. If an immeasurable loss occurs, he is afraid that life will be worse than death. Chelsea is one of the members of the Knights of the Quincy Star Cross, and there is no such thing as 703 who is afraid of Yhwach, the tyrant. Cherokee would rather be killed by Yhwach, but never experience that life is better than death. If Kailuja had known it, he would have died in Qian Ye's black coffin, and he would have died. But now, Chelsea didn't even have the qualification to die. This was the real horror. Cherokee even knew how ridiculous and ignorant his previous actions were. Actually, he is still trying to force Qian Ye to use his Zanpakuto Bankai. If Qian Ye really used his Zanpakuto's Bankai ability, not only would he be unable to capture it, but he would have died hundreds of times early. Similarly, Daleks and Jerome did not expect that they would face Qian Ye this time. Of course, the two of Dalisk and Jerome were not too afraid of Qian Ye, but that they had no prior mental preparation. At this time, the two of Daleks and Jerome, when they looked at Chiruji, both complained and blamed. You must know that the instructions they received for assistance were not to deal with the special combat power designated by Their Majesty Yhwach. This is completely a false report on the military situation. In the same way, both Daleks and Jerome also know that Yhwach has designated special combat power. It must be the same as that of Kurosaki Ichigo, their Zanpakuto's Bankai ability, and their Quincy couldn't capture it at all. Qian Ye smiled when he saw that Dalisk had recognized himself. Dalisk, Bersi, Yhwach awarded the Holy Text O, one of the members of the Knights of the Star Cross of the Invisible Empire, am I right? It's just that I didn't expect that you actually recognize me, am I so famous? At this time, Jerome also answered, of course I recognize it, and you are also very famous. You are one of the special combat powers Our Majesty has designated. Moreover, there is information showing that Captain Qian Ye also got Aizen's Hōgyoku, right? Qian Ye smiled again and said, "Do you also know this? And you also have my information. CDEJ, it seems that Yhwach really did a lot of work." "Stop. You are not allowed to call us directly." Qian Ye also shook his head and said, "Jerome, Kisbat, one of the members of the Star-Crossed Knights of the Invisible Empire, was awarded the holy letter R by Yhwach." However, Qian Ye didn't finish his words, but he used it to open instantly, and he came to Jerome in an instant. At the same time, Qian Ye released a huge beam of light from his palm, which completely enveloped Jerome. Although Jerome was prepared for a long time, Qian Ye's speed was so fast that he didn't even have room for reaction. Jerome, who is not covered by Qian Ye's beam, is impossible even if he wants to escape, and can only use his expert skill, Roar, to fight against him. However, what Qian Ye used was Hato's 88th Flying Dragon Strike Thieves Sky Thunder Cannon. Jerome was not killed immediately at this time, so he was very lucky. Of course, among this, there is naturally also the confrontation with Jerome's powerful roaring sound wave, and Qian Ye's deliberate retention of hands. The reason Qian Ye did this was not to punch Jerome. What Qian Ye needs is not to kill the Ku Master, but to upgrade his upgraded version of Omniknowing and Almighty. This is why Qian Ye is helpless and speechless. You said that the system actually gave him a whole, pirated omniscience and omnipotent to him. And, let him use close combat with the Quincy to upgrade the so-called omniscience and omnipotence. Originally, Qian Ye also wanted to give up and ignored it. But Qian Ye also knew that this omniscience and omnipotence was indeed not completely useless. You know, the reason why Yhwach is so good is not because he has this omniscience and omnipotence. Moreover, Qian Ye is also very convinced that once his omniscience and omnipotence are all upgraded, it may not be stronger than Yhwach's omniscience and omnipotence. It is precisely because of this that Qian Ye came to Hueco Mundo, to find a Quincy to punch in and upgrade his omniscience and omnipotence. Trigger the omniscience and omnipotence progress task completed. Progress +1. Chapter 428. Dalisk delivers a special message. Soul Society is ready. Advertise here. When Qian Ye heard the prompt tone, he also knew that he expected it well. His omniscience and omnipotence indeed have to be compared with the members of Yhwach's Star-Crossed Knights, or the Quincy who was awarded the holy script by him, in order to upgrade his pirated omniscience and omnipotence. Of course, this is only the only confirmation that Qian Ye has obtained so far. As for whether there are other methods and channels, Qian Ye also doesn't know. It can be said that Qian Ye has to explore it himself. Because Qian Ye's system has been upgraded, but there is no detailed explanation about it. Not to mention it is a friendly reminder, that is, no matter how Qian Ye asks, the system is silent. However, when Jerome was recruited and was completely restrained by Qian Ye, Dalisk not only did not come to rescue him, but quickly left Qian Ye. The reason why Dalisk didn't save Jerome in time, and first chose to stay away from Qian Ye, naturally had a special reason. When Indulge saw that, whether it was Chiruji or Jerome, they were completely restrained by Qian Ye in an instant, and there was still no way to fight back. You know, Qian Ye used a long-range attack when dealing with Cherokee, but a close attack when dealing with Jerome. In other words, Qian Ye's ability is already strong enough, whether it is long-range attack or close combat, it has reached the point where it is unmatched. In addition, Dalisk also saw that Qian Ye's attack on the two obviously left room. Otherwise, both Kylager and Jerome would be killed by Qian Ye in a single blow, and there would be no hope of surviving. Of course, Dalisk was not afraid of Qian Ye's strength, and he was not afraid of death and escape. However, Dalisk wanted to be in time, and immediately transmitted the misreported military information of Chiruji to Their Majesty Yhwach. This message is very important to Yhwach. Because Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo and others were invited to Hueco Mundo, it was originally a conspiracy of Yhwach. This conspiracy is to trap Qian Ye, Kurosaki Ichigo and others in Hueco Mundo. Yhwach will also take this opportunity to attack Soul Society. Originally, the last time the Invisible Empire declared war on Soul Society was 5 days later. However, it has been 6 days now. The reason why Yhwach postponed the attack on Soul Society was of course that Yhwach had not received the message that Qian Ye had come to Hueco Mundo. In Yhwach's plan, Qian Ye is even more important than Kurosaki Ichigo and others. Dalisk naturally knows all this and its importance. See you. After Dalisk confirmed that he had a certain safe distance with Qian Ye, he also quickly sent a white light into the air. It's just that the same white light is good, but there are certain differences. The white light emitted by Dalisk was obviously brighter and more eye-catching than the white light emitted by Chiruji. Of course, Yhwach is the only one who knows the difference. Soul Society Seraiti. This is the 5th day since the Invisible Empire declared war on the Soul Society. All Shinigami captains and deputy captains, as well as the entire Gotei 13-seat officers and team members, are extremely serious and nervous. All people are strictly waiting for the battle, and will never give the Quincy Master any opportunity to seize the first opportunity. The captain of Yamamoto Motoyajisai Shigekuni, although he did not walk out of the confidential room of his captain, was still very solemn. For flowers. You know, those quintessences are not only very powerful, they are also fascinating, and they shouldn't be small. What's more, if others don't know the specific inside story, how can Yamamoto Genryujai not know? It's not all because of Yhwach. As for Yhwach, Yamamoto is also very familiar with it. Arrogant, and even more ambitious. In addition, I hate Soul Society very much, hate Shinigami, and have an endless vengeance with him, Yamamoto Genryusai. Point 0. Since Yhwach has already taken his head and declared war blatantly, he will definitely be fully prepared. Although it is the Quincy that hasn't appeared yet, it must be a big battle. Yamamoto Genryusai was not afraid, but worried about the safety of Soul Society. He didn't want to ruin the entire Seraiti because of him. However, it is precisely because Seraiti was created and developed by him, so Yhwach will definitely destroy Seraiti. In the waiting of everyone, the Quincy never appeared. However, this made everyone, even Yamamoto Genryusai, feel a little bit more uneasy. Hueco Mundo. When Yhwach saw the help message sent by Dalisk, he immediately stood up from his throne. Of course, Yhwach also distinguished the difference in the signal for help. The message for help that appeared at this time was not only asking for help, it was still being passed on, with the appearance of the special combat power he had designated. Yhwach attracted the special combat power of Hueco Mundo, this time, except for Kurosaki Ichigo, Qian Ye. Where? Chapter 429. Yhwach ordered an attack on Soul Society. Average strength. Moreover, according to Yhwach's understanding, he is also convinced that only Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo are the most likely to come to Hueco Mundo. Kurosaki Ichigo has not only arrived long ago, but has also caused Esnot and others to stop at the periphery of Hueco Mundo. However, the current position of the signal is in the inner area of Hueco Mundo. With Yhwach's understanding of Qian Ye's strength, this must be Qian Ye. Just when Yhwach was still a little unsure whether it was Qian Ye, another white light appeared in the air. This is the signal used by Yhwach to confirm information. Qian Ye, your 703, finally came. Yhwach is the supreme leader of the entire invisible empire. It is the common ancestor of all Quincy masters. Moreover, he is still the son of the Spirit King. All quintessences are honored as Your Majesty. Yhwach will fall asleep at night. However, in order to make up for this shortcoming, Yhwach and Hasward exchanged power. Hasward, full name Ugelin, Hasward. Awarded the holy letter B by Yhwach, it is the highest level of the Knights of the Star Cross of the Invisible Empire Quincy. It is also Yhwach's personal guard, and the symbolic ability is harmonization of the world. Yhwach knew that Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo had both come to Hueco Mundo, so naturally he didn't hesitate anymore. Soon, Yhwach's war order came out. Star Cross Knights, Your Majesty War Order. Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo, one of the special forces, have come to Hueco Mundo, and have been successfully trapped by our army. All members of the Star Cross Knights followed the order, and gathered and assembled at the Gate of the Sun. The Invisible Empire will immediately attack the Soul Society. However, even though Qian Ye knows that his identity has been found out at this time, and he also knows that he is also Yhwach's specific special combat power, Qian Ye does not know it, and Yhwach already knows it at this time. Moreover, Yhwach not only knew about it, but also immediately launched an attack on Soul Society. However, Qian Ye now only cares about his punch card. Jerome, who was enveloped by Qian Ye in Hado's 88 Flying Dragon Fortune Thieves Thunder Cannon, also finally rushed out of the control of the huge beam. However, Jerome at this time was also too miserable. Although he didn't die under the huge beam of light, there was only one chi left unbroken. Qian Ye didn't look at Jerome again, but used the instant opening to approach Dalisk. When I went to Skog to see that my important task was completed, I didn't run away anymore and chose to face it directly. Captain Qian Ye, what do you want to do again? Does it mean that we are deceived? At this time, Qian Ye didn't have the time to take care of Dalisk. The hint above Indolsuke's head made Qian Ye more interested. Identity revealed, the Knights of the Quincy Star Cross will attack Soul Society. The final form of the Quincy. When Qian Ye saw the tip above Dalisk's head, he immediately understood. Obviously, the former is that Dalisk has successfully delivered the message, Yhwach's conspiracy has succeeded, and is ready to attack Soul Society. It turned out that the white light emitted by Dalisk just now was not only asking for help, but also conveying his identity message to Yhwach. It's no wonder that the white light emitted by Dalisk seems to be different from the white light emitted by Cherokee before, and it has also emitted twice in a row. However, Qian Ye didn't care anymore at this time, nor was he too anxious. For Qian Ye, the most important thing is to continue to check into Dalisk and get the benefits. What's more, Soul Society is not the only captain of Qian Ye, and the other captains of Shinigami are not vegetarians. Now every captain of Gotei 13 is an elite captain who has survived the battle with Aizen and Shu. What's more, there is still the head of the Captain Sanbin Genryujai. Although Qian Ye knows something, Soul Society will suffer some losses this time, especially in dealing with the ability of the Quincy to seize Shinigami Bankai. But Qian Ye believes that it is necessary for these Shinigami captains to experience it, and it is also necessary for these Shinigami captains to improve their awareness and understanding of themselves. Although this is cruel and difficult for them to accept, it may not be a bad thing. Furthermore, Qian Ye is not only going to get benefits now, but also some are interested in the so-called final form of the Quincy. Because Qian Ye also wanted to know more about the 4.9 combat skills of the Quincy before he officially started fighting with the Quincy. At this moment, Dalisk's finger suddenly pointed towards the sky. However, at this time, Dalisk did not make a sound as Qian Ye had imagined, and even seemed to be a little silent. It seems that this Dalisk is not only good at learning, but also ready to learn Qian Ye as a preemptive move. See you. Along with Dalisk's finger, a beam of Reiatsu light, which was so huge that it was a bit shocking, also soared into the sky. Qian Ye shook his head a little after seeing Dalisk's powerful strength at this time. For Qian Ye, that can only be described in general. Chapter 430. Quincy's Ending Eucharist. Qian Ye uses black coffin again. Advertise here. Qian Ye laughed when he saw that Dalisk's body had also changed. Oh, are you trying to show me the final form of extinction? Quidmaster finishes the Eucharist. Go on, don't worry, I'm not in a hurry, just wait and see. However, Dalisk still didn't say a word. He didn't even see how Dalisk moved, and he had already come behind Qian Ye. However, just when Dalisk's sudden blow hit Qian Ye's back with a sneak attack, it made Dalisk instantly dumbfounded. Although Dalisk's blow was fierce, it could be said that it was so powerful that it was a bit terrifying, but even Qian Ye's defense could not be broken. Not only that, but it also caused the knife in Dalisk's hand to almost be shaken and dropped to the ground. However, it is clear that although Dalisk at this time has both horror and frustration, Dalisk has not given up because of this. In Dalisk's opinion, it must be that his own strength is not strong enough. But Dalisk knew how powerful Qian Ye's Reiatsu defense was now. Otherwise, Qian Ye didn't dare to let Dalisk kill him like this. Qian Ye is not stupid enough to look for abuse. The reason why Qian Ye did this was so calm and ignored. It is not just that Qian Ye has absolute self-confidence, but Qian Ye has absolute strength. All the means of attack are in vain in the face of absolute strength. In addition, Qian Ye also needs Dalisk's closeness so that he can brush up the wave of Dalisk's benefits. Even if Dalisk could deliver it to the door by himself, Qian Ye didn't have to bother with it anymore. Isn't the power enough? Dalisk also initiated a ruthless come. I saw that Dalisk was not eager to attack Qian Ye again, but swung his knife towards the surroundings. With Dalisk's swing, the spirits around him quickly condensed towards his blade. Seeing this situation, Qian Ye was also a little moved. It turns out that the Quincy can also seize the surrounding spirits in this way and use them for their own use. Of course, Qian Ye still didn't move, as if already sluggish. However, this is not the case for Qian Ye at this time, because he is waiting for the arrival of the prompt sound. Trigger the omniscience and almighty progress task completed. Progress +1. At this time, on the blade of Dalisk, a very majestic and somewhat amazing energy was already condensed. However, before Dalisk swung his sword at Qian Ye again, something strange happened. Only in an instant, Dalisk had already been locked in his body by 6 light discs. This made Dalisk simply lose the ability of the whole line. Naturally, what Qian Ye used was Bakuto's 61 6-rod light prison. At this moment, in Qian Ye's mind, there was another prompt tone. Trigger the omniscience and omnipotence progress task. Rush back to Soul Society to refresh the progress. Qian Ye understands. This means that the current Hueco Mundo has already prevented him from getting any benefits. However, Qian Ye was right to think about it. Most of the current members of the Knights of the Quincy Star Cross should have rushed to Soul Society. Naturally, very few remained in Hueco Mundo. Of course, this is exactly what Qian Ye intended. Returning to Soul Society not only can get the benefits that should be provided, but also solve the danger of Soul Society. Qian Ye also hoped that Soul Society at this time did not have too many losses and casualties. Otherwise, Qian Ye is also a little embarrassed. Of course, only Qian Ye knows himself, he is not all selfish. He is also preparing for the next full-scale battle facing the Quincy. Qian Ye is also preparing for an unprepared battle. Because Qian Ye is also very clear, only if his omniscience and omnipotence are completely upgraded can he have a greater chance of winning. Yhwach is not a joke, it is a veritable big DOS. Besides, Qian Ye also wanted to believe that if it was not necessary, his system would never give him a pirated version of the omnipotent who needs to be upgraded. However, before returning to Soul Society, Qian Ye would not kill Dalisk, but he should still be impressed with 703. In the end, Qian Ye decided to use Black Coffin again, and let Dalisk experience being locked in a small black house. Of course Qian Ye also knew that this Dalisk not only had good strength, but also had a lot of means, so he naturally needed to take special care of it. However, this time Qian Ye decided to sing again, so that Dalisk could be prepared, isn't it? Vaguely reveals the turbid badge, the unruly talent, the tide, the denial, the paralysis, the moment that hinders the long sleep, the crawling iron princess, the constantly self-harming clay doll, combine, rebound, extend to the ground, know your own powerlessness. Hado no. 90 Black Coffin. Just when Qian Ye began to sing, Dalisk not only felt a sense of crisis, but also a sense of despair and powerlessness. With Qian Ye's singing finished, a huge black cube had completely closed Dalisk to the side. But what greeted Dalisk was not only the boundless darkness, but also the attack with 1,000 swords and blades. Chapter 431. Qian Ye is ready to return to Soul Society. The superior may not be clean. Advertise here. Of course, just when Dalisk was locked up by Black Coffin, Qian Ye was still out of the spirit of benevolence and took the way to release the previous 6 rods. Otherwise, it is really unpredictable whether Dalisk is alive or dead under the double Keto. In addition to Keto, Qian Ye used Reiatsu and Shungguan during this, Hueco Mundo, trip. But from beginning to beginning, he didn't use his Zanpakuto at all. Can leave some suspense and doubts for the Quincy. Qian Ye will naturally not let Yhwach know everything about him. Because the real battle between Qian Ye and the Quincy has not officially started yet. What's more, there is the last big boss, Yhwach. After Qian Ye imprisoned Dalisk in Black Coffin, he immediately dodges and leaves the scene of the crime. At this time, Cherokee and Jerome were not only pale, they were also a little afraid of Qian Ye. Not to mention that they were powerless to stop Qian Ye's departure. Even if they were powerful, they were daring. None of them knew what kind of existence they encountered. Perhaps in their hearts, they also think that only their majesty can rival Qian Ye. Devil. This is the positioning of Qian Ye in the hearts of both Cheruji and Jerome. At this time, Qian Ye came to a relatively secretive place. Qian Ye is also ready to tear away the black cavity from here and return to Soul Society. Of course, Qian Ye naturally had to tell Nailu before returning to Soul Society. As for whether Nailu will stay or not, it depends on her and Nailu's current situation. Regarding Keto's mastery, Qian Ye naturally has nothing to say. To convey this kind of information, Qian Ye certainly didn't want others to know, and just let Nailu know. Of course, what Qian Ye wants to use is the 77 of the people of Bakuto. The sky is quite empty. Nilu, I am Qian Ye, because I need to return to Soul Society in an urgent matter, so I can't come to meet you, L. You can choose to return to Soul Society immediately or stay and continue to help Kurosaki Ichigo. It's better to keep this matter secret first, Qian Ye. Just when Nailu saw Qian Ye's message to her with Tien Ting Kong Luo, she also found out that Kurosaki Ichigo and the others did not receive any messages. Soul Society. Seraiti 13 Team Captain Room. Kuretsuchi Mayuri glanced at Yamamoto Motoinagi, a little uncertain and said, Captain. I have done everything. In order to balance the soul, I have secretly ordered the obliteration of 28,000 Rukongai citizens. However, when Yamamoto Motoryusai heard this report, although his brows were slightly frowned, he did not say anything. Originally, Yamamoto Genryusai only secretly let Kuretsuchi Mayuri think that Soul Society can maintain balance. However, Yamamoto Genryusai did not expect that Kuretsuchi Mayuri used this method to stabilize the balance of Soul Society. However, the words have been spoken, and Yamamoto Genryusai does not want to worry about this matter anymore. For Kuretsuchi Mayuri, all this is for Soul Society. Besides, this is not a big deal. What's more, Kuretsuchi Mayuri is not a good person in itself, and the bad things he does secretly are not the same. As long as it is for justice, there is no right and wrong. Kuretsuchi Mayuri only knows that Shinigami represents justice, while Quincy represents evil. What's more, what Kuretsuchi Mayuri did is a good thing for the adults of Soul Society. If you fail to do this, not only will Soul Society collapse, but all people will die. It can also be said that the demon Kuretsuchi Mayuri was also acquiesced in secret by Yamamoto. Although Yamamoto is not a good person, he did not come to the surface. The pot can only be carried by Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Yamamoto Genryusai brought the topic to the point. You should talk about the current situation. However, Kuretsuchi Mayuri asked, as the culprit of this situation the man who you failed to kill thousands of years ago, the captain. However, Yamamoto Genryusai did not answer. Kuretsuchi Mayuri added. As early as when the queer Ishida Ryu invaded Yulington, the inevitability of this incident was already foreseen. But you not only don't listen to my advice, but you also think I'm listening to alarms, which is groundless and worrying. If you can deal with the report of the Technology Development Bureau such as you in a timely manner, it may be able to prevent the occurrence of this incident. Kuretsuchi Mayuri was originally a scientific research madman. He, Zhao's good, only likes to study all kinds of weird researches. He doesn't particularly like fighting and killing. Of course, as the captain of the 12th Division of Gotei 13, Kuretsuchi Mayuri's research is still focused on improving Shinigami's power. Kuretsuchi Mayuri is not a stupid person, he knows everything that happened thousands of years ago. For this pot right now, Kuretsuchi Mayuri naturally does not have a back shape. You know, the entire Gotei 13 Technology Development Bureau is also very important. Although Kuretsuchi Mayuri is only a technical person, but the current Technology Development Bureau, if he is missing, Kuretsuchi Mayuri is really not good. Yamamoto Genryusai is a bit gloomy, but he can't do anything with Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Chapter 432. Soul Society also has a dark side. The war is about to start. Advertise here. This is why Kuretsuchi Mayuri dared to say so boldly. The uppermost person in the Shinigami world may not be clean. If not, the current Seraiti is still in the feudal era. It is precisely because of this, why most of the souls who die in this world will live in Rukongai and become refugees. Why doesn't Rukongai, like the world, also develop technology? And doesn't Seraiti also have technology? It is precisely because science and technology have been suppressed by Soul Society. This is not a pure management and development issue. But these refugees in Rukongai are specially used to provide supplies to the adults of Seraiti. No one provided them with sufficient supplies. How comfortable are these big shots? If it is to let the refugees of Rukongai master science and technology, that's not going to change the sky, and it is even possible to overthrow the power organization of Soul Society. Even though Shinigami are very powerful, they are immune to nuclear bomb attacks. After all, there are too few Shinigami. And once Rukongai's refugees, 707, have all mastered science and technology, if time goes on, it will not be that simple for those big shots to suppress. But at this moment, almost all Shinigami of Soul Society heard a voice in midair. Suddenly, all Shinigami felt uneasy. At the same time, I saw a blue flame soaring into the sky, and it started to burn in the quiet spirit garden. Shinigami at this time, but they all know that the blue flame is made of high-density spiritual power. Seeing this, Rukia Kuchiki was very solemn, and wanted to turn around and leave. Rukia Kuchiki, where are you going to do? Rukia Kuchiki looked at the teammates next to him, if she said it honestly. I'm going to the bottom of those pillars. You are most likely the place where the enemy will appear. For this sudden situation, Yamamoto, CDEJ, Genryusai and Kuritsuchi Mayuri naturally saw it. Oh, those large blue flame pillars outside the window look very destructive. Kuritsuchi Mayuri did not speak when seeing Yamamoto Genryujai, and he also immediately reminded the significance of the incident. However, for Yamamoto Genryusai, he can barely accept this level of destructive power. Captain Kuritsuchi Mayuri, go back to the team first. Judging from the current situation, it is very likely that the enemy is diverting our attention. These people will do some damage to some of our places. Kuritsuchi Mayuri saw that Yamamoto Genryusai said so, and without saying anything, he turned around and left quickly. However, the Shinigami captains at this time cannot completely ignore those flame pillars. If such a situation really occurs, the goal of the extermination division can be regarded as achieved. At this moment, Genjiro, behind Yamamoto Genyanagi, walked out immediately. Squadron leader, let me go. Genjiro is the third seat of the first team, and he has the strength to be underestimated. The problem facing Yamamoto Genryu now is that the strength of the entire Seraiti cannot be scattered at will. It is also not possible to fall into the enemy's scheme, and it is also impossible to let people take advantage of it. The blue flame pillar was not far from Seraiti. Soon, some Shinigami team members have already arrived near the blue flame pillar. At this moment, a Shinigami was looking at the blue flame pillar and asked the survey personnel who followed behind him. Link C survey team, how long can this flame pillar last? However, the answer that Shinigami got was yes. Sorry. Because the Link C density is too high, it has exceeded the limit of strength and cannot be surveyed. Shinigami, who got up first, belonged to the third division. Hearing such an answer, he was obviously a little dazed. Of course, the investigators did not give up because of this. Through the efforts of the investigators, some data were finally obtained on the instrument. The similarity between Reiatsu and the sample is 93%. That's a Quincy. Sure enough, Shinigami were also among the blue flame pillars and saw a looming figure. All Shinigami were immediately ready for battle and waited for the enemy to appear. I saw it. Kill him. It's just that this person's voice did not fall, but it happened suddenly. The speaker was a sudden beam of light that penetrated half of his body in an instant. The beam is not only powerful, but also faster. The Shinigami on the scene hadn't reacted at all, but they had their own teammates, and they were instantly beheaded by the enemy. Ah, the deputy captain was killed. However, even before the man's words were exclaimed, a figure in a robe emerged from the blue flame column. Not only that, the two Shinigami's heads have been pressed into the ground by the figure. The sudden appearance of the figure is not only very cruel, it should not be reaching the extreme, it is beyond a kind of Shinigami's cognition. When the Shinigami recovered, they all had Zanpakuto in their hands, and the battle was also about to start. Chapter 433, The Knights of the Star Cross appear. Asnaut's fear ability. However, just at this moment, several figures came out of the blue flame pillar again. Shudder. Shinigami, it's the beginning. The Knights of the Star Cross of the Invisible Empire will carry out your Majesty's orders and eliminate you all. The voice was a man in a hood. As soon as the man's voice fell, the people behind him rushed out immediately. Soul Society Reiatsu Investigation Bureau Headquarters. In front of all the staff, there is a big screen. On the screen, there is a data display from Soul Society's Reiatsu monitors. These data show that although the accuracy is not very high, the approximate orientation and intensity can still be monitored. According to the data on the screen, in Seraiti, at least 16 places where the enemy has been detected Reiatsu appeared. However, in the place where the enemy Reiatsu has not been confirmed, Shinigami's Reiatsu is also disappearing. In addition, there was also intelligence that Links's investigators had died. The data on these intelligence screens showed that there were 4 persistent people on their foreheads, frowning. Many members of the 3rd Division, Reiatsu, disappeared. 40 soldiers in the South 356 area died. 65 members of the team died in the North 402 area. It took less than 10 minutes for the enemy to invade, and the death toll of the entire Seraiti has exceeded 1,000, and it is still growing. On the other hand, Jing He, the deputy captain of the 3rd Division, was very angry, but what made him a little helpless was that the enemy he faced was very powerful. This is a tall slender man with a robe on his upper body. Jing He also knew that this situation was very unfavorable for them, and it was almost impossible to defeat the opponent. At this time, the man in the robe asked, "It seems that you have some bad news. Could it be that some important person died?" At this time, Jing He didn't have the mood to talk to him at all. Don't. The place where Reiatsu disappeared just now, Busby was there. If no one died, it was his failure. Jing He really couldn't stand it, and couldn't stand it. Queenskiller, don't get too proud, you don't want to go back alive. However, it was the action of the man in the robe that responded to Jing He. See you. Many energy spikes floating around the man in the robe slammed forward again. Any Shinigami that was stabbed was immediately penetrated by the spike and lost his life. It was this man in the robe who had already killed how many Shinigami with this move. A group of Shinigami, but even the situation is still clear, they have died in the hands of this person. My name Ace. Note. A member of the Star-Crossed Knights of the Invisible Empire, has been given the holy text F by His Majesty. My ability symbolizes fear. Miscellaneous soldiers, you should feel honored to meet me. Esnot had long black hair in the middle, no eyebrows and mouth lips, and exposed teeth. A black mask with multiple cones covers the face below the eyes. They have deep black eyes, tall and thin fingers. After hearing Esnot's words, Shinigami was also angry and angry. Doesn't it mean that they are underestimating people? In fact, Esnot originally blocked Kurosaki Ichigo, but after the reinforcements he asked for help arrived, he received a secret order from Yhwach and left secretly. Beg for flowers. Although these Shinigami are very scared, they also know that they are not the opponent of this masked man at all, but they still haven't flinched. Even if I have become Shinigami, I still have this awareness. Besides, although they are just ordinary Shinigami players, their treatment is how many times better than the people of Rukongai. Most of these Shinigami players are from Rukongai, and naturally they are the clearest. Opportunities and dangers coexist. If they can survive the battle this time, their gain will be huge. Point 0. In the face of huge interests, there must be a fierce husband. Besides, they all know that they have no retreat now. War may die, and there is only one death without war. Instead of this, it is better to give up your life to fight. If you don't become a hero, you will become a bear. Of course, it is deceptive to say that you are not afraid. In front of a powerful opponent, and there is no chance of winning at all, anyone who has fear is too normal to be normal. Unless you are not a normal person, or a lunatic yourself. No, some people are talking in a low voice. The damn it guy seems to be immune to our attacks. It's not immunity, but that guy is too strong and our attack power is too weak. That's the same, that guy's beam will die as soon as he touches it. However, why are people who are clearly dead still screaming all the time? And the Shinigami at this time, when facing Esnot, they already had a bit of fear. Of course, this is not to blame for these Shinigami players, it is because Esnot's own ability is fear. Where? Chapter 434. The Dignity of Abarai Renji. The Humiliation of Shooting Village Sajin. Advertise here. Esnot is not only powerful, but his methods are too weird. As you can see, he has already died, but he is still screaming constantly, just like he can't die if he wants to. In such a situation, naturally, some people were frightened, and even more involuntarily retreated. As a result, someone quietly retreated without advancing. Not only are everyone paying a high degree of attention, but also such fears and retreats are not alone. No one is a fool, and even a fool can't make Shinigami. There is one, there must be two. 7 and 7 are not many. Not only Izuru found something wrong, but also the Shinigami team members who still have a little fighting spirit. It is also inexhaustible to have Shinigami players. No retreat, we are Shinigami. Only, it's okay for the Shinigami team member not to shout, but this shout broke out like a flood, and it was impossible to stop it. Shinigami, who was only retreating slowly, was like a flood that opened the gate. It was no longer retreating, and started to turn around and ran back. The Shinigami team member was even more anxious when he saw this, and they all hissed and yelled. We are Shinigami of Gotei 13, and protecting Seraiti is our mission. Even if we abandon our lives, we must protect Seraiti. Don't run. We are not cowards, and we must not be deserters. It's just that such a roar not only didn't play any role, but made those who escaped to run more desperately. Suddenly, a light spike stabs the roaring Shinigami quickly. This sudden attack didn't make the Shinigami feel scared, he didn't even mean to hide, and he slowly closed his eyes. However, to the surprise of that Shinigami, not only did he not die, but he didn't even have any pain at all. That Shinigami was also a little surprised. Did I just die like this? It is not painful, and there is no fear at all. So what happened to the screams of those people before? Is it all a lie? But it's not right. How can I still hear those screams? The Shinigami also slowly opened his eyes. However, the scene that appeared in front of Shinigami's eyes also surprised him a bit. See you. The blow I just made was blocked by Zanpakuto, which stretched over. This is a snake belly sword, with bones like fish bones, stretched section by section. At this time, Zanpakuto's section stretched to at least 10 meters, and the light thorns that attacked him had already been cut off. As expected to be Shinigami of Gotei 13, it's a good point. I'll just leave the rest of the battle to me. Along with the voice, his hair color was bright red, his hair was still tied up into the sky, and a large area of blue lines were pierced above his eyebrows, covering almost the entire amount. He has similar blue patterns on his neck, shoulders, chest and abdomen, and he wears a turban. This person, Shinigami, of course knows him. He is the deputy captain of Gotei 13's 6th division, Abarai Renji with the red-haired Shinigami of Yu. At this time, Abarai Renji also jumped off the wall. Abarai Renji looked at Asnot in front of him, obviously also a little dignified. Of course, Abarai Renji also knows that their Shinigami has both Zanpakuto's Shikai and Bankai abilities. Then these quintessences must have similar fighting skills. Abarai Renji also had to get serious, and he could also see that the Quincy in front of him might not be easy to deal with. The other side. A military cap with an invisible empire mark, long hair over the waist, and a short outfit with a heart-shaped badge in front of him, a heart-shaped emblem belt, and black stockings and boots. This is a young, lively, proud, willful and cruel juvenile Quincy. He was waving the sword in his hand with excitement. This is not ordinary waving, and ordinary excitement. Therefore, the girl at that time is using the sword in her hand to continuously behead Shinigami. The more she kills, he gets excited, and the faster she kills, the more energetic she gets. Yes, she is Bambi Tata, one of the members of the Star-Crossed Knights of the Invisible Empire. Bashta worships marriage. She symbolizes the ability to critical strike, and is given the holy letter E by Yhwach. At this moment, Shinigami, who was tall and burly with a wolf head, covered in fur and covered his head with an iron mask, appeared in front of Bambi. Needless to say, everyone knows that he is Komamura Sajin, the captain of Gotei 13's 7th division. At this time, the village Sajin looked serious. How come such a lively boy has become a soldier of the thief army? Oh, it seems to be really willful and cruel, and it really makes the old man a headache. However, just before the voice of Sajin in the filming village, Bambietta took it. What is it? Isn't it the bark you should be called? I really didn't expect that even a puppy can be the captain of Gotei 13. No wonder these Shinigami are all too weak and scumbags. It turns out that Soul Society is really understaffed. Chapter 435. Abarai Renji was attacked. Byakuya Kuchiki rescued. At this time, Gotei 13, all the Shinigami captains and deputy captains who can play in the team, as well as the seat officers of each team, all rushed to the battlefield. Of course, these Shinigami captains naturally also know that these Quincy masters have the ability to capture their Shinigami Bankai. However, even so, they rushed to battlefields without hesitation. Because they will never sit back and wait for death, even if they die, they will fight back. At this time, Abarai Renji decided to preemptively and immediately attack Esno in front of him. Since Abarai Renji knew that Quincy had the ability to capture Shinigami Zanpakuto Bankai, this was also something that all Shinigami knew. Although Abarai Renji is only the deputy captain of the 6th division, he also has Zanpakuto's Bankai ability. Asnot saw that Abarai Renji was the same as the previous Jink, 23 was also just a deputy of Gotei 13, and he was also very disdainful. It can be said that Asnot at this moment did not see Abarai Renji in his eyes at all. You know, they received a secret order from their Majesty Yhwach this time, mainly to seize Shinigami's Bankai ability. As for the Shinigami of Gotei 13, it seems that only their Shinigami captains have the ability to liberate their Zanpakuto Bankai. Regarding this information, the Quincy's understanding of Shinigami is not comprehensive. Of course, Esnot didn't know. The deputy captain who he didn't look after against him at this time also had the ability to liberate himself Zanpakuto Bankai. Abarai Renji's snake belly sword has a strong attack force, and it can still attack in a wide range. Similarly, Abarai Renji didn't put Esnot in his eyes, and there was no panic or fear at all. Abarai Renji still made up his mind to let the dog in front of him look at the low-level guy and try to extreme pain in order to avenge his teammates. However, the idea is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. Just after Abarai Renji's shot, he knew how powerful the guy he was facing was. Because of Abarai Renji's attack, Asnot was completely immune. The current Abarai Renji also knows that it is no wonder that Asnot in front of him is so disdainful of himself. It turns out that this Quincy really has a few brushes. Abarai Renji was also a little surprised. Is it possible that all of these quintessences have the ability to be immune to Shinigami's attack? If this is the case, then this battle will be really troublesome. Abarai Renji's attack strength is not much weaker than other Shinigami captains. It seems that Shinigami, if they don't want to liberate their Zanpakuto's abilities, they can't beat these Quincy at all. However, just when Abarai Renji thought and realized. Asnot has changed. Before Aizenot, when facing Abarai Renji's attack, he had always been defending, so it can be said that he did not really make a shot. Therefore, the Esnarot at that time seems to have something like a pattern, which is looming. Abarai Renji also knew that, it seemed that his attack strength had to be improved again, and he must not let this Asnot take the lead. Fast tracking is the way Abarai Renji wants to break Asnot's defense. However, at this moment, the mutation happened again. Because behind Abarai Renji, a Quincy suddenly appeared. Abarai Renji also felt it right away. And before the Quincy attacked him, Abarai Renji also dodged. However, the Quincy also seemed to have expected that Abarai Renji would react like this. Even when Abarai Renji's body hadn't stood firm yet, the attack of the Quincy attacked him. At this time, Abarai Renji didn't have time to think about it. He just blocked his contracted snake belly sword in front of him. Although the Quincy was only a fist, his might and strength were also extraordinary. Abarai Renji was also forced to retreat again and again by the impact of this Quincy fist. 707. There is no need to observe the situation, and no need to sympathize, Abarai Renji. This group of quintessentially attempted to annihilate Soul Society without mercy. It is a clear enemy, and they do their utmost to eradicate them. Upon hearing the sound, Abarai Renji certainly knew that it was his captain Byakuya Kuchiki who had arrived. Team leader. Following the voice, Byakuya Kuchiki not only repelled the enemy for Abarai Renji, but also blocked Abarai Renji behind him. Abarai Renji also quickly explained that he didn't want his captain to misunderstand himself. If the captain thinks that he is accumulating the enemy, it is not good. These damn quintessences not only killed many Shinigami, but also used to shoot cold arrows. Byakuya Kuchiki said again, we must let them pay their debts, and don't give any mercy. Abarai Ren quickly responded, I didn't want to pity them. At this time, Asnot also began to approach Byakuya Kuchiki. Chapter 436. The Impatience of the Shinigami Captains. The Helplessness of Qian Ye. Advertise here. The previous Abarai Renji was also thinking about how to better deal with Asnot. This gave the Quincy that suddenly appeared behind him an opportunity to take advantage of. However, it was precisely because of Abarai Renji's inconsistency in the battle that he almost fell into a passive position. You must know that when facing the enemy, there is no room for negligence. It is precisely because of this that Byakuya Kuchiki misunderstood and gave a reminder from Abarai Renji. As his deputy captain Abarai Renji's combat power and strength, Byakuya Kuchiki is naturally also very clear. Of course, I also know that Abarai Renji is not so unbearable. Don't move. When Byakuya Kuchiki saw that Asnot was approaching, he stopped drinking immediately. However, Asnot responded, impossible, Captain. Every enemy used a knife to cross me. Byakuya Kuchiki also said indifferently, you were cut with a knife by them, I don't think it is true. What? However, at this moment, the strong quintessence who was blocked by Byakuya Kuchiki let out a scream. I saw that the arm of the strong man Quincy also had several slash wounds and blood spattered. I don't think you will move inadvertently. Obviously, Byakuya Kuchiki was deliberately reminding the Shinigami behind him. Just when the strong man hadn't understood what was going on, he fell straight down. It turned out that there was a hole below this place. The strong man just made his footing, and it was precisely because of the slash that there was a gap. At this time, Byakuya Kuchiki said again, I have reminded it. Abarai Renji, it's 2-1 now. If my Bankai is sealed, use your Bankai to defeat them. Abarai Renji was also in a hurry, and he did not expect that his captain would make such a decision. Team leader, let me use the power of Zanpakuto Bankai. Of course, Abarai Renji knew that if he could only use Zanpakuto Bankai's ability to test the enemy's ability. Of course, he, the deputy captain, must perform such actions and responsibilities. Of course, Abarai Renji is also very aware of the gap between himself and Captain Byakuya Kuchiki. In other words, the captain's consideration is not unreasonable. Although he also possesses the ability to liberate Zanpakuto Bankai, he can't compare with his captain at all. If it is a trial and a chance to succeed, of course, Byakuya Kuchiki has a greater chance. It is also possible that when the captain's Bankai was sealed, he had really obtained enough information. Then, he also had the ability to successfully behead the others too quintessentially. If it is the other way round, due to the large gap in their own strength, it really may not be able to delay enough time to allow their captain to obtain useful information. In this way, even if I had paid, I would only die in vain. It was useless and worthless at all. Thinking about it, Abarai Renji can only accept it like this. In fact, the idea of Byakuya Kuchiki is not outstanding. It is that he has already discussed and agreed a plan with several other Shinigami captains. In other words, on the battlefield at this moment, not only Byakuya Kuchiki is doing this, but other Shinigami captains are also doing it. Because these Shinigami captains have already seen that if they don't use the power of Zanpakuto Bankai, they will not be able to defeat the Quincy. However, these Quincies have the ability to capture Shinigami Bankai. Although the current Technology Development Bureau is already conducting research, when it will have an end is still unknown. Due to the needs of the battlefield situation, time is pressing. These Shinigami captains can't wait to die, and they can only come up with this under discussion. Qian Ye was also somewhat helpless for this bad strategy of the Shinigami captains. Qian Ye is also for the overall situation, but also to prevent Soul Society and the world from completely collapsing in the future battles. He had to respond to the needs of the system and go to Hueco Mundo to brush benefits. It is precisely because his current omniscience and omnipotence are still unable to predict the future, and naturally he cannot rush back to the rescue from Hueco Mundo in the first place. However, even if the Shinigami captains of the Soul Society, some of them, Joudas, lose their Zanpakuto's Bankai ability, it is within the range that Qian Ye can accept. Although Qian Ye knows how Quinxian takes away Shinigami Bankai's abilities, he also knows that invaders can make Shinigami regain their Bankai. But Qian Ye only knew it, he couldn't research it out, and Urahara Kazuki at this time couldn't research it out. But my own system does not give any hints in this regard, let alone a solution. This may be because of his Bankai abilities, which the Quincy cannot seize, there is no reason to threaten him. Regarding this, Qian Ye also felt very helpless, and could only rush back to Soul Society to rescue the Soul Society as quickly as possible. Chapter 437. Shinigami Plan Failed, Bankai Biduo. Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo become hope. Advertise here. After Abarai Renji figured out these key points, he could only remind Byakuya Kuchiki. Captain, didn't the information say that these Quincies possess a certain way to seal our Shinigami Bankai's abilities? I know, that's why I use you. Listening to the captain's answer, Abarai Renji knew that there was no way to dissuade his captain. It could be said that the matter was a foregone conclusion. But captain, even if we use Bankai's ability, will we be able to defeat these Quincy masters? Byakuya Kuchiki said again. So you have to pay attention. The key is to find a way for Quincy to seal Bankai. Of course, Abarai Renji also knows this. Abarai Renji also knew that in the next battle between the captain and the Quincy, he had to concentrate all his attention and be free from distractions. 710 is now also the only way to actively cooperate with his captain and strive to get rid of the Quinquez before he can seal his Captain Bankai's ability. Although the risks involved are huge, there is no alternative at all. What's more, besides that, they seem to have no choice but to fight. At this time, in various battlefields of Seraiti, the Shinigami captains also changed their combat styles. Because they are all with their own deputy captain, or a powerful helper, they decided to use the Bankai ability and give it a go. The release of Zanpakuto Bankai's ability that hadn't appeared in various battlefields was released after discussion. However, what awaits them is disappointment and despair. Because just after they liberated their Zanpakuto Bankai abilities, the methods of the Quincy did not give them any time to delay time as they planned. Not to mention letting his deputy captain observe a method to break the seal, and even less time for thinking and watching. Because as soon as they liberated their Zanpakuto Bankai abilities, a star of the Star-Cross Knights suddenly appeared in the hands of these Quincy. It was normal for Quincy masters to have such stars. However, their star badge is not an ordinary star badge, it is the star badge that these Quincy masters can seize Shinigami Bankai's ability. This is something that the Shinigami captains did not expect. It is also the lack of information, the omission of the Shinigami captains. As soon as Quincy's star badge appeared, a black circle appeared behind him. The Shinigami captains only felt that their sight was slightly blocked, but in such an instant, their Bankai ability disappeared out of thin air in an instant. Of course, Byakuya Kuchiki is no exception. It is also just after he completed Bankai. The power formed by his Bankai has penetrated into the stellar in the hands of Asnod at an eye-catching speed. This is not a seal. My Bankai was snatched by the star. This is not only true by Byakuya Kuchiki, but also by Asan Namai Renji, who is full of attention, CDEJ, he can see clearly as well. Although this made both Byakuya Kuchiki and Abarai Renji a little dumbfounded, they finally knew the means by which the Quincy master seized Shinigami Bankai's ability. However, this kind of information is a bit disastrous. Byakuya Kuchiki and Abarai Renji, of course they also know that this is exactly the consequence of their lack of detailed information, Seraiti. At this time, Byakuya Kuchiki is calm, because he knows that even how angry and cursing he is, it will not help. The most important thing now is to quickly pass this information to the captain of Yamamoto Genryusai, and Gotei 13's Technology Development Bureau. It is also the only hope that Captain Yamamoto Genryusai can quickly make combat adjustments and let the Technology Development Bureau work out a solution. In fact, for the secretly negotiated countermeasures of a group of Shinigami captains, although Yamamoto Genryusai did not go through, but Yamamoto is still the captain of the team, and he naturally knows it. However, Yamamoto Genryusai also believes that he can only take a risk like this. Therefore, instead of opposing in time, Yamamoto Yuanryujai chose to default. This is also what a group of Shinigami captains thought of. Naturally, it is not obvious to let Captain Yamamoto Genryujai know. The reasons for this are equally well understood by everyone. Yamamoto Genryusai also calmed down after learning this specific information. While letting Kuretsuchi Mayuri lead the Technology Development Bureau on behalf of the Technical Development Bureau, we should hurry up to work out a solution. On the other hand, let Kuretsuchi Mayuri immediately notify Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo who are still in Hueco Mundo. The current Yamamoto Genryusai is also the only hope. Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo rushed back to the rescue field, and there was still too late. At the same time, it was ordered immediately that all Shinigami are not allowed to use Zanpakuto's Bankai, and try to fight a time war with the Quincy. The purpose, of course, is to wait for Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo's rescue. According to reliable information, Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo were in Hueco Mundo. Although they were trapped by the Quincy, their Bankai abilities were not taken away by the Quincy's star. Chapter 438. Bankai is forbidden to wait for support. Qian Ye reminds Unohana Kazuki. Advertise here. At the same time, over the entire Seraiti, the sky appeared quite empty. Queen's ability to seize Bankai is the star in their hands. From now on, any Shinigami absolutely cannot use Zanpakuto's Bankai ability. Do everything possible to delay the battle, and wait for Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo's return. Of course, the message that the sky is quite empty is naturally only Shinigami can receive. However, the Quincy Masters have no way of knowing that Shinigami's message is conveyed. However, at this time, Captain Shinigami, Bankai, who has 4 captains, has been taken away. They are Hiroko Shinji, captain of the 3rd Division, Byakuya Kuchiki, captain of the 6th Division, Sajin, the captain of the 7th Division, and Hitsugaya Toshiro, the captain of the 10th Division. Kurosaki Ichigo and Unohana Kazuki, who are far away in Hueco Mundo, and Qian Ye who is rushing back, also received them. It's just that the messages they received are slightly different. Of course, Nailu, Inoue Orihime, Sato Yasutora, and Grimmjow, etc., because they are not Shinigami, did not specifically pass them on, but they did not know. The enemies that Kurosaki Ichigo and the others face now are significantly less. Long Chi was a powerful Quincy, but he felt like a god suddenly disappeared. It was not until Kurosaki Ichigo and Unohana Kazuki received a message from Seraiti that they suddenly realized. It turns out that all of this is a conspiracy of Yhwach. Its real purpose is to attract them to Hueco Mundo, and trap them in Hueco Mundo, to attack Soul Society. Moreover, their main purpose is to try to seize Shinigami's Bankai ability. And the reason why Unohana Kazuki followed Kurosaki Ichigo to Hueco Mundo is also to crack the law that Quincy can seize Shinigami Bankai. However, the current progress of Unohana Kazuki is not unsuccessful, but because the time is too short, all kinds of data for research have not yet been collected. However, just when Unohana Kazuki was about to call Kurosaki Ichigo, he received another message from Qian Ye. Mr. Unohana Kazuki, I have rushed back to Soul Society first. However, I know that you are trying to decipher the law of the Quincy to seize Shinigami Bankai. You can look for enough virtual blood for research. Not only is there no Shinigami's Bankai, but the Quincy can't seize the power of the virtual. If I guess it's right, you should be able to research something called an invading drug. Qian Ye's message can also be said to wake up the dreamer. Yeah, why didn't I expect it? So Unohana Kazuki immediately called Kurosaki Ichigo and Nailu over. Kurosaki Ichigo, you have to rush back to Soul Society for support immediately. Captain Qian Ye has rushed back first. Soul Society's safety, I beg you. I will open up a channel for you to send you back to Soul Society. At this time, Nailu said, Mr. Unohana Kazuki, I can open the Black Chamber and go back to Soul Society with Kurosaki Ichigo. However, Unohana Kazuki shook his head. Nailu, I know you are anxious to return to Soul Society, because Captain Qian Ye has already returned. However, I do ask you, hope you can stay and help me. Because Captain Qian Ye told me how to crack the method that Quincy can capture Shinigami Bankai. That is, I have to have a lot of deficient blood for my research. I hope you can help me. For flowers. I also know that you don't want a large number of deaths, so you must be busy with this. Of course, I think this is another purpose for Captain Qian Ye to bring you to Hueco Mundo. When Nailu heard what Unohana Kazuki said, although she knew that it was Unohana Kazuki using her emotional kidnapping with Qian Ye, it was indeed the same. This cannot be completely ruled out, Qian Ye really has such an arrangement for himself. Besides, Nailu is just as Unohana Kazuki said, she doesn't want to die because of it. Point 0. Of course Nailu knows too. It can be said that now only she can get the blood of Unohana Kazuki without harming her imaginary life. Even if there is still Grimmjow, based on Grimmjow's character and popularity, it is definitely impossible to resolve the matter peacefully. Nailu knew even more that if she could break the ability of the Quincy, it would not only be what Qian Ye needed, but also what she wanted. So, after thinking about it, Nailu resolutely agreed to Unohana Kazuki. Mr. Unohana Kazuki, for Qian Ye, I am willing to stay and help you. The battlefield of Byakuya Kuchiki. Abarai Renji couldn't stand it anymore. Although he knew that even if he used his Zanpakuto's Bankai abilities, he would still be taken away by Asnot, but at this time Abarai Renji really couldn't take care of that much. Stop. Don't use Bankai. Let me come. However, even before Abarai Renji used his Bankai, Byakuya Kuchiki hadn't finished talking. With the sound, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Abarai Renji. Where? Chapter 439. Asnot wants to send information. Qian Ye gives 2 choices. Advertise here. Captain Qian Ye, why are you here? Yes, the person who appeared in front of Abarai Renji and blocked Asnot at this time was Qian Ye who rushed back from Hueco Mundo. Are you also Captain Shinigami? Asnot looked at Qian Ye with disdain and asked. As soon as Asnot's words were uttered, there seemed to be something wrong. The Captain Shinigami in front of him does not know him, but he seems to be very familiar. No, What was the name of the deputy captain just now? Captain Qian Ye. Damn, how did I forget about July 10? Isn't he a special battle designated by His Majesty, Gotei 13 Captain Qian Ye? It's just not right. Shouldn't he have asked the hunting team Captain Giluge and others to be in Hueco Mundo? This news came from Their Majesty Yhwach, and it shouldn't be wrong. However, how did Captain Qian Ye explain? Of course, not believed that even if he confessed his mistake, their Shinigami of Gotei 13 would not have confessed his mistake. Could it be that Qian Ye in Hueco Mundo is a fake? Or is it because Chiruya and the others are assholes and have made a mistake? No, this is a very heavy message. I have to try to tell Your Majesty Yhwach to know, so as not to affect our battle plan this time. However, when Asnot had this reaction and thought, he did not know all of Asnot's, but Qian Ye was fully aware of it. Ace, not, a member of the Star-Crossed Knights of the Invisible Empire, was given the holy letter F by Yhwach. The means you used earlier should be your symbolic power, fear, right? It looks like it's really good. Asnot listened to Qian Ye's words, but he was not surprised. For the enemy in S, it is actually quite normal to know some of the other side's situation. Just as they knew that Qian Ye was the special combat power designated by Yhwach. However, Asnot was still a little dissatisfied with what Qian Ye said just now. Because Qian Ye's words meant to question his ability. Captain Qian Ye, you are wrong, my ability is indeed fear, it is genuine, not just a symbol. Originally taciturn Asnot, because he was dissatisfied with Qian Ye's intention to underestimate him, he couldn't help but excuse him. I know, what are you in a hurry? I haven't finished it yet. Aren't you doubting my identity? Then I can tell you, you don't have to waste your time to pass information to your Yhwach. Qian Ye of Hueco Mundo is also me, but I have rushed back. You should understand now. Dalisk did not lie to the military. However, the first Cherokee was just like you, because he didn't recognize me, it was a false positive. Qian Ye's words sounded very ordinary, and they may also be truthful. However, at this time, Asnot couldn't calm down a bit. How did you know that I wanted to deliver your message to Our Majesty? Snort's questioning also undoubtedly admitted that what Qian Ye said was true, and he did have the idea to send a message to Yhwach. It's just that all of this is just Asnot's own thoughts in his heart, and he hasn't said it to anyone. Qian Ye can know this, how can you let Asnot not be surprised, can he be calm? The answer is also very positive, no. From the conversation between Qian Ye and Asnot, Byakuya Kuchiki and Abarai Renji were also surprised. That's right, how did Qian Ye know this? It's really a god. However, Qian Ye did not answer Asnot's question at this time, but gave Asnot two choices very directly. Isnot, I will give you two choices now. One is that you return Captain Kuchiki's Bankai, and I can send you back to your ice palace safely. One is that I behead you and let your Yhwach resurrect you back to the ice palace. When Asnot heard this, he was even more shocked. This Captain Qian Ye knew everything. You know, whether it is their majesty who can use the holy power to resurrect them, or their ice palace, this is not something ordinary people can know. Could it be said that traitors have also appeared at the top of the Star-Crossed Knights of our invisible empire? Otherwise, how could this Captain Qian Ye know this? It seems that this important piece of information, I have to pass 4.9 to His Majesty Yhwach immediately. Asnot also had a hunch, he was afraid that he would be doomed today. However, these words of Qian Ye made Byakuya Kuchiki and Abarai Renji even more shocked. Although they didn't know whether what Qian Ye said was true, but based on Asnot's reaction at this time, more than 80% of it was true. Asnot, of course, will never return Byakuya Kuchiki's Bankai. He didn't want to be a traitor to their majesty Yhwach, he could only choose to fight Qian Ye, even if he knew he would die.